What's up, Giants fans, Hub watchers, YouTube subscribers, Twitter and Instagram followers? It's your boy Kush back at it again with another episode of the Just Chillin' podcast. Call in show. How's everybody doing? Shout out to everybody in here that was here early. I'm seeing Nate Talks Giants. Shout out to Nate. Obviously, guys, go check out his channel. Joseph Balby in the chat. Jaden Dawkins, the champ. Wolves in the chat. Mets fan 11, football talk in the chat. How y'all doing? Logan's Gaming Lounge. Thank you all for tuning in, man. Welcome in to the Call-In Show, to the Just Chill podcast. I could already see that StreamYard is acting up a little bit because I cannot see any of your comments here in the StreamYard chat. But luckily, I do have the actual stream pulled up on another tab here, so I could see your comments there. I don't know what's the case there. I don't know if StreamYard is going to take a minute to catch up with you guys and whatnot. But every single comment that I'm seeing here in this StreamYard chat is about a couple minutes. Oh, I think that it caught up, man. Shout out to Joe Yatto in the chat. Mod, but also member alert. How you doing? Joseph said, am I thinking about getting those chairs? Well, it's the green screen for the chairs. I've been actually thinking about getting those for a while. Probably going to be, after the whole Christmas thing blows over and I save up some more money. Then, with Christmas shopping and whatnot, I'm kind of all spent out for the next month or so. But I was definitely thinking about getting the green screen that attaches to the back of the chair. That right there would be amazing. That way I don't need to have a whole big setup behind me. That would be good, man. Shout out to Logan in here as well. Kyle Cruz. I'm going to drop the link in about 10 to 15 minutes or so because, of course, first, got to give you just my plain old thoughts on a couple situations. Now, the Evan Engram situation, for some reason, became controversial on Twitter. I don't know. People apparently started making low light films of Evan Engram just to hate on the guy, and I've always said I don't like Evan Engram. You know what I'm saying? I think he should be off the team. I think the Giants will be better without him. I still stand by that, but I'm not gonna be out here making low light film with the guy and promoting that just for the sake of hating him. You know what I'm saying? Whenever I talk bad about Evan Engram, it's usually whenever he does something wrong, which is almost every week. But I do think it's kind of crazy that people are going out their way to do that. And I think we all need to remember, like I said in my video today, Evan Engram the person. You know what I'm saying? There's Evan Engram the player and Evan Engram the person. Can't forget the dude worked hard to get where he is. And I said in my video today, when I saw his eyes lit up when he found out that he made the Pro Bowl, that definitely touched my heart, bro. I felt some type of way. I felt like I was looking into the eyes of a child that realized his dreams come through as a football player, and I was happy for him in that sense, as much as I don't like him on the Giants. You know what I mean? It's a very weird thing, just like it always is with Evan Engram. But I always thought that was weird when I saw that on Twitter, man. So let me know what you guys think about that right there. Jaden says Engram a joke he can't catch. And Sugar Todd says he only has one touchdown. Joseph says, I'm happy for both of them, even though Engram hasn't played his best this year. I agree. I mean, it's kind of crazy that when we think about it, Evan Ingram's best year was probably his rookie year. I don't know exactly what we can draw from that, but I think a lot of people would agree his best year was probably his rookie year. Jaden Dawkins says Blake was robbed. Not only Blake Martinez, you could argue was robbed. You could throw Leonard Williams in there, but more importantly, Graham Gano. I don't know how Graham, the Godfather Gano, Graham Slam, Obi-Wan Kenobi did not make the Pro Bowl. Makes no sense to me. He's been the best kicker in all of football this year. Me and Nate's Talks Giants, we were actually on the Discord together discussing that. I think a lot of people are forgetting our dude Graham Gano did not make the Pro Bowl, and that's something that almost seemed like a shoo-in for the Giants. Like if nobody made the Pro Bowl, if there was just one person from the New York Football Giants that made the Pro Bowl, it would have been Graham Gano. But that wasn't the case, man. Football Talk says if Engram was in a good system, he would be a beast. Football Talk, he also has to, be a bit more consistent with holding on to a ball. I will say that. Kyle Cruz says Texans just fined Deshaun Watson for not following COVID. What did Deshaun Watson do now? And this COVID protocol thing is getting out of hand because I just saw Dwayne Haskins was out here partying at a club, and involving himself with a certain crowd that he shouldn't be involving himself with. And Dwayne Haskins is an enigma. Because you already know, I don't think the dude is a good player. I don't think he's committed. I just don't think he's good, even if he is committed. And this right here is a blow to him, man. You talk about your starting quarterback is down and the backup is down. You have a real chance to prove yourself once again to your teammates, your coaches, the fan base, and you go out there and you do this. You know what I'm saying? Let's see now. Anthony Martinez says, I'm his biggest fan. Not going to lie. Okay, then. It could bring his confidence up, and maybe he could catch. Is what Football Talk says. That's a good one. I hope that's the way Evan Engram is thinking, man. Jaden Dog says Ingram got some popcorn for you. Blues says at least it gives him confidence. Y'all hate on him for no reason. I hate everyone who hates on that man, bro. Blues, I guess you hate me then, but I do not hate on him for no reason because I hate on Evan Engram because he can't catch. I don't even know if you could define it as hate because I don't go out of my way like some of these dudes on Twitter do to make low light videos of Evan Engram. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I definitely don't support that. And no, I'm Guyanese, by the way, Blues. Let's see here. Gano to go. He gonna get it next year, man. It is. Graham Gano better get in at some time. So I'm gonna drop the link in the chat for you guys now. And Wolves, that's a no because Wolves, that's not something that you could watch on YouTube. And we drop this link in the chat here to you guys. Bada bing. Bada boom. What up, Mets fan, once again. And as usual, first person to get on here is the homie Mike Nixon. I don't know if he's wearing his new jersey, but he got a new James Bradbury colorless jersey. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good, Hub, and of course I'm wearing it.
He is indeed wearing. I gotta get myself James Bradbury jersey at some point, whether it's color rush or not, man. How you doing? What hat are you rocking? Let's see the hat. I can't see the top of the hat. Bam, there it is. New York with that nice font. I'm Mike. How you doing, man? What's going on?
I'm doing good, man. I'm in the Christmas spirit. Christmas is a couple days away. I can't wait.
Christmas just this Friday, man. You already decorated?
Yep.
So what are you trying to talk about?
I don't know because I don't think we're making the playoffs. So, I mean, I hate to talk about the draft, but
I still haven't, by the way. I still haven't started looking at the draft like that yet. I'm gonna start looking at it probably in a week or so, but I haven't looked at the draft yet, right? But I could definitely get where you're coming from, where you're thinking we might not make the playoffs. I mean, there's still a chance, as every Giants fan. No, I think we're all holding out hope that the Giants somehow make the playoffs. There's still a chance, but a lot of things have to go right.
Of course, I hope we make the playoffs, but we got a tough matchup this week against the Ravens.
What are you thinking about this game against the Ravens right here?
Honestly, I just hope that our defense comes prepared. Because I have no hope in our offense. I have no hope. So
not even from what? Well, tell me this, or give me your thoughts on what you thought about Freddie Kitchens' play calling this past week.
I thought they did good. He did good, but I'm more or less the person saying that we should have just took them points instead of go for it and go for it and go for it. You know what I mean, Hub?
I definitely know what you mean because in my opinion, the first one, I think everybody would agree, the first attempt at converting the fourth down was just weird. It was a weird formation. Yeah. It was, I don't know if you could deem it a trick play or whatnot. It was just all around something I ain't really ever seen before. And then the second one, and I said it on the live stream, the second one, I was just like, oh, man, I kind of just want to get the field goal here and see where we end up with.
Yeah.
So would you put that? I don't know if you put that on Kitchens, though. That's something that you probably put on Judge.
Yeah. I mean, I like Freddie's play calling though. But I keep saying it. We did not get Evan Engram involved that much.
They were focusing real hard on Darius early in the game.
I mean, I'm glad we went to him, but it's like I want to spread the ball around, you know? And I know Engram is inconsistent, but he's a dynamic playmaker. You gotta get the ball and at least try to get the ball in his hands, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it just seems the last couple weeks
Kind of seems like
we
they
got
abandoned that.
yeah. So I mean, I would love to see Evan Engram get targeted this game,
Mm-hmm.
but also like spread the ball around. I obviously run the ball. Is I would more or less say run the ball against the Ravens because they have a good secondary. I mean, a great secondary, I should say.
A pretty good one, man. I put it
Yeah,
definitely above good.
yeah. They got Peters, they got Humphreys, and their safeties are balling out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, shit, they're not missing Earl Thomas whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think about what are we gonna do against Lamar, or what does the defense have to do against Lamar?
Spy. We have to spy him.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot let him make plays with his feet because that's where he's dangerous. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I, I say we lose like 23-13.
And in what crazy way can you see us winning?
I mean, if Baltimore turns the ball over a lot,
Mm-hmm.
if we win the turnover battle, we will have a shot to win. But I just don't. I just have no faith. I just have no faith. This last couple weeks really drained me.
The energy is, I could tell, man, the energy is gone. I'm gonna tell you this, Mike. Listen, I know you watched the new skit I had out for the members. According to your
Hmm.
comment, you liked it. I'm gonna tell you this to get your energy up. Look at all the skits, man. Just look at happy thoughts, bro. Happy Giants related thoughts, man. Look at all the Super Bowl highlights. Get your energy back up. Cause I'm with you. I was super depressed, especially after the Browns game. I was not expecting, something that bad offensively, right?
Yeah,
And as much as I like to think of myself as a very realistic fan, right? I'm like, yo, listen, the chances of making the playoffs are definitely a lot lower now. And to be honest, if we're making it, that means everybody else loses. But it's still there. It's still there. So if you
yeah.
want to hold on to the hope, man, just continue believing. But like I said, I'm not looking. Yeah.
We gotta hope that. Damn, like Eagles Cowboys. Like, who do we want to lose, and who do we want to win that game? You know,
Hmm. I would
because
probably say Cowboys because the Eagles are still bottom of them in terms of record.
yeah,
And it's tough, it's tough being in this position. We're just a couple weeks ago, we were controlling our own destiny, and now it's out of our hands.
yeah. So I mean, hope that Dallas wins and Washington loses out,
Hmm.
and we beat Dallas, then we'll be in.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, man, I'm gonna ask the next caller this as well. Dwayne Haskins, he was out here partying at a club, COVID protocols, breaking all type of stuff. You talk about the dude has a second chance to prove himself, getting back in there, and Washington is playing some of their most important football of the entire season. This man is out there partying, breaking all type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They were already in a tough spot with Haskins starting in the first place. That's not kidding anybody, but how do you think that even affects the team now, the Washington?
He's a clown. He's a
Mm-hmm.
clown. But I mean, they haven't ruled out Alex Smith.
Alex Smith
Then
is still possible for return this week.
I think so.
Okay.
Because as far as I know, he had a minor calf strain.
Mm-hmm.
So it was nothing serious, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, oh man, because it's I'm literally scared because the Washington can beat the Panthers.
Yeah, the Panthers ain't looking too good right now. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But Mike, let me get your final thoughts before I bring the next person in here, man. Maybe it deals with Engram making the Pro Bowl and whatnot, but just your general final thoughts.
You know, I give Evan Engram a lot of shit, and congrats to him for making the Pro Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Congrats. I still don't know how Leonard Williams, Graham Gano, and Logan Ryan don't make it.
Mm-hmm. Especially Graham Gano. Especially Graham Gano.
Especially James Bradbury.
I mean, Bradbury did make it.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Did you not know that?
I knew that.
I think maybe you were thinking Blake Martinez or something. Who knows?
Yeah. Man, just congrats to Evan Engram and James Bradbury on making the Pro Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I'm gonna beat this with a dead horse. James Bradbury, first team All Pro,
Oh,
no
he needs
second
he
team,
needs to get that. He needs to
no
get that.
second team, no third team.
I agree.
First team All Pro.
100% I agree, man. Especially he's been the best cornerback in the NFC. I think, the only person that comes to mind, Jair Alexander, but this year Bradbury's been great, man. Thank you, Mike, so much for tuning in, man.
No problem, Hope. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, man. Peace. Next person up, we're going to get here. And like I said, the first thing I'm going to ask them, just because it's NFC related news, was the stuff with Haskins. Shout out to Joe Yatto, another member tuning in. Great dude, always on here. How you doing, Joe?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. So the Dwayne Haskins, well, what you're seeing right now is why Ron Rivera benched him. He doesn't have that work ethic. He doesn't have that drive. He was a star in Ohio State. He only had 1 year. He's a young kid, not sure how to handle the pressure.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen other NFL players go through what Haskins is going through, and they haven't turned out very well. So the only thing I can say is, boy, he's going to need a lot of help, and not just physical help with the football game, but the mental aspects of it too. So that.
And the thing is, Joel, it's not like this is new to us. At the end of last year, a lot of stuff came out from the Redskins camp. Now, of course, the football team camp that Haskins, he's not as committed as he should be. He doesn't really put in all the work. His work ethic is bad. Even at draft time, we were hearing stories that Haskins' work ethic wasn't the best.
Yeah. It's like he kind of reminds me of like when Jameis Winston came out. I mean, they're both the same style, the same player, the same athlete.
And at least Winston can throw the ball deep, though.
Yeah, he can't see, but yeah, he can throw the ball deep. But they both have that young guy mentality. And when you come from nothing and you get thrust into the limelight like they did at the college level, it's all fun and games because you're still in college. But then you need to realize that, okay, now this is a job. It's not fun anymore. And for some people, that's just a hard aspect to do because they want to play the game for fun. Unfortunately, the professional athlete, they can't go down that road.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but the thing that surprised me the most, right? Like I said, we knew about his work ethic issues. The thing that surprised me the most is how stupid this decision was, man. I mean, come on. You're getting not a second, probably a third chance to prove yourself to your teammates, your coaches, the fan bases. You're talking about a head coach who just beat cancer, to consider the situation we're in, and you still go out there and do this.
Yeah, but the guy would rather take a selfie with a fan than go out and kneel the ball down in victory formation.
That's my point exactly.
How can Rivera say you're my guy when he's not giving forth that effort. Well, that's, like I said, I do feel sorry for him. All the reviews and the talent that he has, and you can see it. We all see it. Yeah, he throws interceptions. They all throw interceptions. They all fumble. But it's who's willing to put in that time and make it a 14, 16, 18-hour day, getting there on a day off to watch film. Who's getting out there, being the leader? That's, if you're not out there doing that little bit stuff, guys aren't going to follow you. The coach isn't going to have faith in you, and your career is going to turn into Ryan Leaf.
Or I think one of the closest examples would be Jamarcus Russell.
Yes, that guy had all the talent coming out of LSU. He won a championship, didn't he? Or they were in the playoffs or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The funniest story out of that, the CD one, where Raiders coach gave him a CD, said it was films, told him, look over the film, come back tomorrow. We're gonna have a talk about it. Next day, he asked Jamarcus, so did you look over the film? He's like, yeah, coach, there was a lot of good stuff in there. And in front of the entire locker room, because the coach let everybody notice beforehand, he said, Jamarcus, that was a blank disc.
Right.
So dude didn't even open it.
Oh, there was another kid, too, that went to the Raiders there. Oh, it wasn't Manziel. Marinovich, Todd Marinovich.
That's probably way before my time.
Oh, it was way before your time, but he was supposed to be a really good athlete coming out of USC. His dad, when he was growing up, he never had like a McDonald's hamburger until he was like 17 years old. It was all nutritional shakes. His father was a former player. He had an awesome release timing. The kid was groomed to be an NFL quarterback and blew it all away. Drugs. Well, that unfortunately, that was back in the 80s. But so you want to talk a little bit about Joe Judge?
Sure, it depends. What do you want to talk about? I want to preface this before anybody twists my words. Judge is still my coach before anybody gets into anything, but continue.
You know what? I like the plays that Joe Judge called. I like the offense that Kitchens ran. I mean, even in the fourth quarter with 12 minutes to go, he's still running the ball, getting 9 yards, 8 yards. You know, there were some possibilities for some really good plays. But the fake punt, how many times has he done that this year? How many times he's
that I could count on? I could count it on my hand. I can't really remember, to be honest.
Yeah, but when he did it, it got taken away. We were like, "Oh, that was an awesome
Cowboys
play." Everybody loved it.
Cowboys. Here's the thing, though, Joel. That wasn't a fake punt. We were in the end zone, so it couldn't have been a fake punt.
It was a fake field goal. It was a fake field goal.
I think it was a fake field goal. Yeah, I think it was a fake field goal.
Engram caught the ball in the end zone for a touchdown, and they got to take it back.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the one at Cleveland, but I know you're talking about the one at Dallas.
Right, but I'm just saying, though, the fans loved that play. Even though it got turned back, it worked. So Judge does it again. He tries something different. Let's spread everybody out because nobody even rushed the guy, the punter, who's a former quarterback. So he had a strong arm. You know, he knows how to throw a ball. He had, who was the number 9 on the outside? Or no, not 9. Somebody was coming across.
So it was Graham Gano was wide open coming across. But he threw it to Nick Gates, who I would question that for sure.
If that was a touchdown, everyone would be ecstatic and jumping for joy, and Judge is the greatest thing. But now it's again with a 50-50. So you can either have a trick play.
The thing is, though, Joe, you could argue that for every play.
Yes, you can. But, you know, everyone's looking at like one play. All right, you know what? If we kick those field goals, we have 15 points. We still lose. Yeah, we're in the game. But, you know, Judge knew his defense. We didn't have Bradbury. Our corners were suffering. We had to run zone most of the time because you can't ask Love to go out and cover when he hasn't done it all year. You know, when you have those...
We were missing both of our good cornerbacks. Great in Bradbury, good in Holmes.
Did we get blown out?
Yeah.
No.
Come on. 20-6?
Did they put up 30, 40 points?
A 14 point win is not a blowout.
Did they put up 30 or 40 points?
They did not. The defense held them down.
Exactly. So if we scored that 15 points, if they kicked those 3 field goals, we only lost by 5.
I think that's what like guys like me are arguing, though. We probably should have kicked those field goals. Who knows what happens if we are closer?
We might have been closer. We might have been more in the game by the score, but we were running the ball consistently. We had a few breakdowns in pass protection. We know where that came from because we all saw it.
Yeah, that's obvious.
All right. So, but we moved the ball with Colt McCoy. They were running the ball. They were doing
props to Freddie Kitchens, and I like that you brought that up. I did really like Freddie Kitchens' play calling.
But to me, a blowout is when you lose 30 or 40 to 6, 10. That's a blowout. The Chiefs do blowouts. The Saints, they blow out teams. We didn't. We held a team that scores 30 to 40 points a game to 20. Kamara and Hub didn't rush really that well. They had 3.1, 3.4 yards per carry.
Giants, I'll tell you what, I did not expect our run defense to hold up, and credit to them. They did. We got killed in the passing, which was expected.
They did, though. I mean, that's the positives you got. Look with your eyeballs, not your heart. I was watching you four in there, and y'all were kind of depressed, and it's let's go. You know what? We're moving the ball. We're taking time off the clock. We're giving the defense a rest. We're banged up. We're hurting at linebacker. We're hurting at safety. We're hurting at corner. A lot of these guys are still not getting their experience, and that was a huge game experience-wise.
I'll tell you what right now. With the live thing, I can't control that. That's my emotions. That's me watching it live. But with the reaction and whenever videos or streams I do after, I'm like, yo, I continue to beat the drum. It's still a good year because exactly the points you bring up. Look how banged up the defense was. Look how we held up a team that was scoring consistently 40 points 3 weeks coming in to 20. Look how amazing their rushing attack is. Look how good our run defense did against them. It's always the same thing, and I'm glad you brought it up because fans, including myself, sometimes need to be reminded, yo, this is still a good year, guys. We're still in this. This year is, you could argue, was better than what we were all expecting coming in, considering all the crazy circumstances.
Right. Even though the NFC least is really bad right now, we expected to win 5 to 7 games. Mm-hmm. Why can't we beat the Ravens? If the Jets won last week, why can't we beat the Ravens? If Lamar has to go to the bathroom again, we got a chance.
But this time he stays in there.
Hey, you never know, but any team can be any other team on any given day. And as Giants fans, guys, just have hope. Continue to watch. Love the team.
Continue to believe.
Use your eyeballs because next year we're going to be a really serious team. Judge gets some weapons.
Facts.
And
we're one good offseason, because if they mess up the offseason, that would be terrible. But we're one good offseason away from being in the thick of things.
Yes, watch Kitchens this week. Watch his play callings if Garrett's not back. If Garrett can't clear COVID protocols, and you know what? I'll say it. I think Garrett caught COVID because Judge was tired of his play calling.
Yeah, Joel, I'm glad you brought that up because I said in my preview video, I was like, it's such a coincidence that Freddie Kitchens is calling the game against the Browns. Wow, that's okay.
But every other team, if somebody gets COVID, there's 8 or 9 other guys. How come Garrett's the only one? Because he's around the whole offense. He's around Jones. He's around McCoy. He's around.
I mentioned that too because when the news came out, it was the same day that Bradbury COVID came out. I'm like, that's weird. Because Bradbury's on the other side of the ball, and I was expecting somebody on the offensive side of the ball to maybe step out. I was like, I don't know.
This is why people follow Judge, have more respect, because he had a backup plan. Everybody thought, why is Kitchens our tight end coach? He stunk at Cleveland. Yeah, he was a good play caller for Baker 1 year. He got the head coaching position. Back up.
Well, that's the thing. He was a good play caller.
Back up. You know what? He had 2 play callers on that he hired last year, Garrett and Kitchens. So
do you think, I'm going to ask you this. Do you think if we move on from Garrett, Kitchens is going to get that move up?
Yeah, because I've already heard from other people plus other sources that if we need an OC, it's going to be in-house.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether that's Kitchens, whether that's Shuplinski.
You know what? Why that makes me a little excited? Because that means there's a chance we just keep the playbook. And I was saying that before the game and during the game, I'm like, guys, the great thing about this kind of switch of play calling is that It's not like the players are under any stress to learn new playbook. It's the same playbook. It's just choosing better plays in better situations.
What did upset me is when Shepard went to the interview and said, well, you know what? In the NFL, 1 yard of separation is open in the NFL. That kind of irritated me a little bit because, well, how come every other receiver can get a 3 or a 4 yard, separation, but you can't? What is that telling me? If I was Joe Judge and I heard that, I'd be up one side of him and down the other because I want you to get 3 or 4 yards.
You don't think he probably was after that?
But nobody's talking about that.
I'll admit to you right now, I did not watch Shepard's press conference, so that might be everybody else.
I didn't watch it either, but I heard about it, and then I followed up on it, and I'm like, what is this man talking about? Really?
Did he just drop it like in the middle of the press conference or something?
No, it was right after the game because everyone's questioning him. The reporters are coming after him like, well, why aren't you getting separation? And he goes, well, 1 or 2 yards in the NFL is open, and you need to throw me the ball. He said you need to throw me the ball?
Well,
I'm open is what he was saying. He didn't say you need to throw me the ball.
No, but I definitely agree with you.
If I have 1 or 2 yards of separation, that means I'm open. That means I should have the ball thrown my way.
Shepard needs to chill, bro. Shepard, 1 yard of separation ain't separation, my guy, no matter what level you're playing on.
It's not. And the worst part is with these tracking bracelets that they're wearing for this COVID protocol, the numbers that are coming out are phenomenal. Tate's only getting like 2.1 yards of separation, and Shepard was only getting 2.3, and Slayton's only getting 2.2. I mean, it was disgusting. 1.9 going around and following that. I'm like, no. I mean, if the teams that are winning, they're not dropping passes, they're getting separation. Yeah, they're running the ball. We're running the ball. We're not getting separation. You're dropping passes. Why? Because every quarterback has to throw into that tight window because you're not doing your job. Get separation.
And how many times have we said a lot of DJ's interceptions aren't necessarily his fault? A good amount of them are also because so many tight window throws. Well, there probably wouldn't be so many tight window throws if there was just a little less of a tight window.
I mean, go
on.
Patrick Mahomes. How many tight window throws does he throw? He runs around 12 yards, 14 yards. He's got a cannon for an arm, and that's what gets him out of it.
I mean, yeah, like let us add some context. Mahomes is one of the best quarterbacks out there.
But he's not throwing. When he drops back, he's not doing the tight window throw. He'll wait because he lets his legs get him out of position, or into a throwing position, and then he's got Hill or whoever on a crossing or a slant route, wide ass open. He just lobs it up into the air.
And that's why a lot of fans like me definitely want to target a wide receiver, man.
But when he throws into a tight window at the goal line and whatever, the boys hang on to the ball. Tyreek Hill got crushed at the goal line on a tackle. I mean, he got knocked 5 yards back into field of play from the goal line. Hung on to the ball, touchdown. DJ's not getting that type of stuff.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up. I said it in my vid today as well when I talked about Engram. I kind of did a little bit of a revised reflection. I'm like, I give Engram a lot of grief, but he's not the only person on this team dropping balls.
Not.
He's far from the only person on the team dropping balls.
But here again, we're going to get back into the Leo discussion. Leo Williams. We're not. Everybody wants him. I want to keep him. But
what did I say, Joel? What did I say? I'm not giving him over 20 mil.
But I'm not giving him 15 mil right now.
Really?
Who had the sack last Sunday night? Lawrence.
Dexter Lawrence. That's why he's on the t-shirt.
I mean, Leo had a couple of good tackles, but BJ Hill had a couple of good.
We're definitely missing Leonard Williams these past 2 weeks.
Yes.
A 20 mil. And I'm bringing up the 20 million figure because that's what he's asking for. A $20 million guy, Leonard. This is what I'm telling him if I'm in the room. A $20 million guy shows up every week.
What's his name for the Rams?
Donald. I mean, come on. Donald's the best player in football.
You're right.
You don't even need to go that high. Let's go Eric Armstead, Colts. Not Colts. Eric Armstead is still on the Niners. I'm thinking the other guy on the Colts.
Look at TJ Watt.
His name. Yep, there you go. That for the Steelers. Who's
Look
the guy
at Bosa on San Diego. Those boys, they're the ones that did. Leo, I'm sorry, he's a defensive tackle, and he's not a 16 to 18 million dollar
He's a
guy.
defensive tackle with good pass rushing ability, but he's not worth what he's asking for.
Exactly. So do you guys really want Leo back at 20 million? Because that's what he's going to want. We don't need that type of talent because now everyone's seeing what we really need. We need that depth. $20 million buys a lot of depth, buys a lot of players, leaders, role models. We're still the youngest team in the NFL. You need that leadership. You need the experience. The teaching. Coaches can only do so much. And look at Collins out there on the field. He's directing the defense. Martinez, he's directing the offensive line. That's how they're making the plays. You got that experience back there. We're getting there. Next year, get Judge some weapons. Get Daniel Jones some weapons. The offensive line's going to gel. Guys, man,
we're going to be in a good spot.
Look at the hype we're dealing with right now. Right now, this is all bonus. This playing for the division, this is the icing on the cake. We never expected it, but enjoy it. Root for the team. Watch with your eyes. Good things are going to happen, and we're going places, guys.
Thank you, Joel. Thank you so much, because I sometimes I get tired beating the same drum. It's a good year no matter what happens, guys. We're already ahead of schedule. In my opinion, we're already ahead of schedule.
Yes, we are.
Because if you consider all the factors, COVID, lack of offseason, whatnot, we probably should have been a 3-win team this year when you consider all those factors. And not any 3-win team, a 3-win team that wasn't competitive outside of its 3 wins. We're a 5-win team that's competitive in every single game except for 3. Or except for 2, even, you could argue. So it's a good year. Keep that in mind. And that just means a good year next year, man.
Right.
Thank you for tuning in, Joel.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. I love the tree. I told you last time. I got mine up.
I saw that.
Can't. Yeah, you saw it in the skit, right? I can't.
Yeah,
it's literally on the side
eggnog
of my computer. Yeah.
Yeah. Put a little whiskey in that eggnog. It'll treat you right. And then you can act better. See ya.
See ya. Shout out to Logan's Gaming Lounge in here. Logan, how you doing, my man? What's up? You're muted.
How?
Ciao.
Evan Engram to the Pro Bowl. How?
Oh, okay. I mean, this is what I'll say. The tight end competition for the NFC, I almost said MC, but for the NFC was kind of weak this year. You know what I'm saying? That's probably how. And he got a lot of votes, man. Pro Bowl is 1/3 voting. And according to some sources on Twitter, apparently coaches voted him in as well. So there's that. There's that. Yes, I saw a tweet. I put it in my Discord. I think it was either by Pat Lerner or Art Stapleton. I don't know if anybody in the Discord that saw it could correct me here. I put a tweet in there that said Evan Engram, impressed coaches around the league or something like that. And so that was a reason why he got into the Pro Bowl as well. So I don't know. I'm just relaying that information, man. What are you thinking about that?
Impressed coaches around the league.
Yeah.
He set a record for drop passes.
Yeah. I'm as confused as you, man. We really about to sit here and talk about the conundrum that is Evan Engram in 2020?
It's a puzzle in his brain, just telling him to put butterfingers on his hands.
I don't know, man. Come on, let's shift off of Evan Engram. What other Giants thing you want to talk about?
Dwayne Haskins. Let's talk about Dwayne Haskins.
All right, okay, NFC East related. Dwayne Haskins. All right, man. Give me your thoughts. How, on a scale of 1 to 10, how stupid was his decision making?
30.
30. I'd give it a set. What number does he wear?
7.
7? I add 10 to that. I give it a 17 out of 10. Dwayne Haskins, man, let the people know. What are you thinking?
He's an idiot. You're a professional athlete and you go out partying and clubbing with random people when there's a pandemic.
And not just any establishment. It's an establishment that if I mention on YouTube, I get demonetized. So use your imagination. It's even worse when you consider that.
How stupid do you have to be to even do that?
I mean, the dude already, I'm sure the guy knows the reputation he has around the league. Oh, is that that Nate? I'm just gonna bring Nate in. I don't know what Nate is doing. Nate, show back what you were showing before.
I just wanted to comment. It's not Ingram's fault. The defense greases his gloves in Crisco. It's not his fault. All right?
Okay, man. All right, sure.
Stop playing with man Ingram.
Sure. Shout out to Nate Talk Giants in here, guys. Go over there
Keep going.
and check them out. You're here now, but yeah,
do what you're doing.
I'm gonna finish up my thoughts. Then I'm gonna get to you and Logan again.
The opposing team puts Vaseline on his gloves.
Yeah, it's not Ingram's fault.
It's not Ingram's fault.
Yeah, bro, he was cooking before the game. You know what I'm saying? He was making some flapjacks. The butter got on his gloves.
He needed to put some pomade in his hair.
Yeah, man. Yo, the training staff, they forgot to give him some new equipment. Listen. But nah, yeah. So Logan was shocked about the info. I'm pretty sure Nate already saw the tweet that went around that basically said some coaches around the league gone. What do you think about that? And how some coaches apparently think about Evan Engram. And shout out to Sabrina in here. Defamilia. I cannot pronounce that for some reason. Augusto.
I mean, I'm happy for him. He looked happy.
He looked happy.
I don't know how he made it.
For Evan Engram, the person, I'm happy because the dude looked like a childhood dream come true for sure. But Nate, let me hear you.
On just how the Pro Bowl impacts him. I mean,
and also, you know, the coaching thing.
Oh, right. Well, in terms of Engram, like, I don't really see the Pro Bowl as anything that's going to change how we view him because we already have him on a contract, so it doesn't really matter. The only thing that Pro Bowls ever actually affect is a guy's contract value and a little bit his trade value. So, I mean, if we do want to trade him, which I don't think is a great idea, then I guess that helps a little bit. But if not, the one thing that does help us a little bit, I guess, is if he does sign somewhere else once his deal is up, which is what I'm hoping for, we could get a little bit of a better comp pick if they pay him a little more. That's what usually happens with Pro Bowls. If you're a Pro Bowl player, you get a new contract, they have to pay you a little bit extra. Kind of like how when you're a high first-round pick, they have to pay you a little bit extra. So just for that, it's helpful. I don't really care about the Pro Bowl. It's not ever an actual indicator of how good a player is. Sometimes it's nice to see a guy get in. Like it was nice to see James Bradbury get the recognition he deserves. But at the same time, you can see how meaningless it is because Graham Gano didn't get in. You know, a guy like
Leonard Williams
is so underappreciated in the league doesn't get in. So it's meaningless to me at the end of the day. But in terms of Engram, it's not bad. It's beneficial.
Mm-hmm. So I mean. And on James Bradbury, I think everybody agrees the next step would be to get this man onto the All-Pro team as well. Shout out to Mike Nixon for the $20 super chat. Thank you so much, Mike. I love you, Mike. Mike Nixon is a great dude. And while there is the Young Guns podcast tomorrow, I'm definitely going to be looking at the Knicks game on one of my sidebars here. Mike says, not to mention Andrew Thomas had the best game of his career. Oh, and going to your video you posted earlier, did you know Xavier McKinney was higher rated than Isaiah Simmons? I'm confident Isaiah Simmons will be out of the NFL
as a safety, not as a player. This is a loophole that a lot of people love using. Let's be really clear here. Simmons was a very highly rated prospect, but no one knew what he was going to be in the league, so they just didn't. They didn't say he was the best safety in the class. They would have. They would have said he was the best linebacker in the class or the best nickel in the class, whatever the hell he wanted to be. But everyone just kind of called him an athlete or a defender.
The thing I love about the whole Xavier McKinney and his Isaiah Simmons thing is that a lot of Giants fans wanted Simmons because of his versatility, you know, that part of his toolbox. And when we got Xavier McKinney, we basically got the next best thing. What were you saying there? What are you saying, Logan? My bad.
If you're not extremely good at one thing, I don't think it's worth it if you're just decent in a bunch of different things.
I agree.
Well, the thing is that he wasn't decent. The idea was that he was meant to be this everything player. Sort of. Do you follow baseball at all?
I hate baseball.
Oh, fair enough. Well, let me put this in terms you can understand. Imagine if you could be an all-star hitter and an all-star pitcher at the same time. That was what people thought he could be. As it turns out, that's incredibly difficult because it's much harder to be skilled in the league than it is to be athletic in the league.
Also, different level.
College, but once the level of play got faster, once things sped up, apparently this has been some weird crap coming out of Arizona that I cannot pretend that I fully understand. But so I've been told, he apparently tried to bulk up and add weight on his frame so he could be a Mike linebacker, which makes absolutely no sense to me. But
was
anyway,
that the decision he made or a decision a coach made him?
I have no clue. Either way, where was the coaching staff on this, even if it was his decision? You're supposed to be, the training staff is supposed to be monitoring these guys 24/7. So I have no idea what was going on there. The whole idea was that he was drafted there to be a rangy will linebacker in Vance Joseph's system. Because he plays sort of this weird sort of combination of Bill Belichick's classic match quarters, rip Liz, and then sort of a Zimmer influence type deal with his front sevens. So it was kind of weird. He needed Isaiah Simmons, a rangy guy, to fill out tackles in the flats and to be coverage in certain aspects and rush the passer in others. It was just sort of a strange idea, very complicated, and Isaiah Simmons just hasn't done it. Maybe it's a mental discipline thing. Maybe he wasn't fast enough up here for the game. Who knows? I'm not nearly ready to call him a bust like some people are.
Strong safety.
What?
I think he should play strong safety.
Probably. He'll probably find success there.
I don't know where he's gonna play, but right now they're trying him out at linebacker and safety. And then the first part of Mike Nixon's comment needs a lot more recognition. Andrew Thomas did a great job going up against Myles Garrett. It doesn't get enough recognition. This man, as usual, the media loves to jump on people when they're down, like they were jumping on him the first half of the season. Dude, I didn't notice Myles Garrett that much at all during the Cleveland game.
So in fairness here, let's make sure we're tempering expectations. Myles Garrett was a shell of himself coming off of COVID. He was breathing heavy after every play. They zoomed down a couple of times. It wasn't like he was barely able to move, but still, let's make it really clear. This isn't the same Myles Garrett that was Defensive Player of the Year for the first half of the year, but it is still very impressive. Not trying to take anything from Thomas or anything, but just let's make sure we're all.
I do want to say Calvin has a great point here. Maybe he's a rookie. Shout out to Calvin, Arizona Cardinals fan in the chat. This is also another reason why I really didn't say anything when you guys were talking about Simmons. I always got the 3-year rule, and I can't exactly pass judgment on a guy who's on another team that I can't really observe like that. But my 3-year rule is always that. What's happening, Calvin? I mean, Logan, what'd you say?
Even when the player's name is Daniel Jones, there's still a 3-year rule.
Yeah, I say that all the time. I've been pretty consistent on that with the 3-year rule on every single player. I've been pretty consistent with that. Logan, any last thoughts before I switch you out here, my man?
I'm good.
All right, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Or are you still thinking about doing your gaming channel?
No.
Why not?
I don't know.
You should go for it. I see you got the headset ready and everything.
I'll give it a shot.
All right, man. For sure. Thank you for coming in, Logan. Have a good one.
You too.
Logan, as usual, pretty good one. Next person we're going to have up here is Gritty Giants fan. Gritty Giants fan, how you doing, man?
I'm talking about the Dwayne Haskins situation.
For sure, man.
Lewis Reddit, I mean, that's a bad decision on his. He was we're an epidemic. Like, what the heck is he doing?
Not to mention the chance that he's squandering.
Yeah. Going into that, that's why we picked Daniel Jones, because of his work ethic. I mean, I see why going back, the rumors coming out that he didn't have the work ethic, and you look on film that all he threw in Ohio State were short passes, and the receivers would break open and run for touchdowns.
I mean, we talked about this on OGR's channel a couple of days ago. There's a very good reason why Ohio State has failed to produce a quarterback. And with most colleges, it's the stupid thing that people say where, oh, there's never been an NFL quarterback out of Alabama or any other random college you want to say. And usually that makes no sense because it's just random. But with Ohio State, there is a tangible reason. If you watch that offense, it's just not set up for quarterbacks to have success in the NFL. When you're a young quarterback, like in college, you need to be developing your brain as fast as you can. And Ohio State's offense for decades and decades has not been helpful to that. They've been, for a long time, 5 yards in a cloud of dust, And then Ryan Day came along with his fancy new offense, and the thought was, oh, it's going to be so much better. And then Dwayne Haskins came along and proved, no, it's not. Because the other part of that equation is that Ohio State surrounds their quarterbacks with an insane amount of talent. just a track team of receivers and running backs and tight ends behind the best offensive lines recruiting can buy year in and year out. And on some level, in sort of a controlled environment, if that makes sense, on some level, young quarterbacks need some adversity. Because if they don't struggle, if everything is easy, they're never going to get better. And that's what Ohio State is. Now, obviously, that could change. Justin Fields could be the guy. You never know. They got that number one recruit in the country, or whatever the hell his name is. I heard a lot about it from a friend of mine who is an Ohio State fan, and it annoys me to no end. But I just don't think Justin Fields is going to be the exception to that rule, and Dwayne Haskins has not been. Like you said, man, you're hitting the nail on the head. Just the immaturity there. You can tell he's not got an NFL mindset. It's probably what turned off a lot of scouts from day one. Because let's be real, coming out of college, Haskins had a better arm. He had more success. He had better numbers in that one season. But like he fell, man. He fell. Let's be straight about it. He wasn't a high first-round pick. And you look at a guy like that and you got to think, why? It wasn't apparently just the tape. We see that now. Because this was not the first time. This is a like fifth, second chance they're giving.
Repeat offender. Yeah. And by the way, shout out to Authentic in the chat, guys. Definitely go over to check out Authentic.
Hey, Authentic.
If they haven't coined this term yet, they definitely should. Fastest growing sports podcast on YouTube.
I was just in their stream earlier tonight. They always do awesome stuff. Anyway, though, did you remember the draft? Do y'all remember that? When Dwayne Haskins was in the draft and he has iPhone background of his girlfriend naked? Like, come on, man. Like, it's one thing to be messing around when you're by yourself, when you're in private, but you are an NFL player. You got to get used to the expectations. You got to know what the standard is, because it's not like it was in college where you can just party and have fun and everything's going to be good. In the NFL, there are expectations. And if you want to talk about why I am ready to call Dwayne Haskins a bust pretty early, because it's very early to call him a bust, but I'm ready to do it simply because not only is this a repeat offense, but Ron Rivera from day one is a coach that I trust very much. He's got a lot of experience in the league, big football brain on him. He knows culture. He knows team building. And from day one, he was not on board with Dwayne Haskins. He was Kyle Allen over him. Then it was Alex Smith over him. And you can say it's level of play. I also think it's the mindset. I also think it's the maturity issues. So I'm not at all worried about Dwayne Haskins in this division.
Yeah, Gritty Giants fan. Anything else you want to talk about?
Going back to the GM, there are thoughts about hiring Louis Riddick. The thing was, Louis Riddick was willing to pick Dwayne Haskins, and that right there shows that he wasn't watching the film. He was just watching what was on the good tape.
And that's a pretty good point. A lot of people wanted Louis Riddick. I mean, we'll never know, but in my opinion, that wouldn't have been the smartest decision. I gotta ask Nate this. Shout out to Sabrina. She said in the game versus Northwestern, at least the highlights, Justin Fields wasn't looking too good, but I don't really watch college ball. And then Nate, do you have any thoughts on this?
Just typing a reply to that.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, I am a Northwestern fan, which is brutal. But I watched that whole damn game, as painful as it was, because it was a bad game. It was a bad game. But I watched the whole thing. And Justin Fields showed everything I've been saying I didn't like about him. I've been calling him Bustin' Fields for so long now. He showed it. He just doesn't have the stuff up here. It doesn't seem like it anyway. He's got all the physical talent in the world. All the physical talent you could ask for. He's breaking sacks. He's making moves in the open field. He's got a cannon for an arm. He can make every throw on the football field with zip. But if you don't have it up here, you're not going to make it in the league. I forget who said this. It was one of the best quarterbacks of all time. One of those guys that had not as great of a cannon for an arm, but a bigger brain. Might have been Peyton Manning. And he said, listen, if you make it to the league, you have plenty of arm. At that point, it's just about what's up here. And it's right. Dwayne Haskins didn't have it up here, clearly. I don't think Justin Fields has it up here, clearly. And again, it goes back to all that stuff I was saying about Ohio State quarterbacks. I'm just not in.
On that thing, I do want to say I don't watch college ball nearly as much, but I will say, I try to be very objective as usual. But I do think while those traits you point out might be true about Justin, we'll never know until he hits the NFL. For example, like the way I learned that the hard way was with Justin Herbert. I thought Justin Herbert was going to be a bust in the NFL, and then he comes out, he's looking real good. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna wait until these dudes touch the NFL, level.
Sure.
Yeah. Gritty Giants fan. Anything else, my man? Before I let you go here.
The Evan Engram making the Pro Bowl. I mean, I understand y'all hate him really bad. As I said in the comments, I'm one of his biggest fans because of 2017. I mean, he really shined through the negativity that team faced. And ever since then, like, I understand where it's hard, where quarterbacks have changed, and you're on a team that's all of you known was to lose for a while, and I get why his confidence is down. I mean, I'm really proud of him for making the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I like him as a player. The problem I have with him is that when it comes to Engram, right, he offers all the upside in the world. I'm sure he's a good dude. I'm sure he's just as good as the next guy. The problem for me is that with all these little things that have been happening, he's had the injuries, he's had the quarterback change, like you mentioned. Nothing has seemed to get tangibly better. And it's been, 4 years since we drafted him now? This is his 4th year?
Yeah, it's about his 4th year.
Yeah. So at that point, I'm just – when you look at drafting a player and you look at a young prospect, you look at the best problems you can have, which is sort of an oxymoron, but there's certain things you look for when you're scouting a player. It's different traits. And one of the worst traits you can have is consistent drops. And that's what Engram's got. It's not like he needs to refine his route running. His route running is excellent. It's not like he doesn't have physical ability. His physical ability is incredible. But when you have such a fundamental issue as not being able to catch the football and having consistent problems like he does, it's hard to see him fixing that consistently. Not impossible, but hard. I'd love to keep him around next year, give him a chance, but I don't really want to pay him. I'd rather just get consistency at the tight end position.
And on Evan Engram, I gave my revised reflection on his tight end selection, Pro Bowl selection, I should say, today in my video. I said, listen, you look at the competition, it's understandable how he made it to the Pro Bowl. 100%. You know what? Give the man props. And like I said, Evan Engram, the person, I got nothing against Evan Engram, the person. When I saw his face light up when he was told he made the Pro Bowl, I loved it. You know what I'm saying? It definitely touched my heart a little bit. I do have my personal, thoughts on Evan Engram. I personally think that, he's not the tight end. I think that the team would benefit, if we had somebody else there, for example, during the Eagles game and whatnot. But and I've called myself the leader of the Evan Engram hate train, but I might have to retract that statement because I've seen people purposely make lowlights of this dude. And we do stuff like that. Like, that's another level. That's something else.
Yeah, I hate
come on.
When people use the sentence, "You're not a real fan," but at that point, you're not a real fan.
Yeah, at that point, you're looking specifically to put down a Giants player. You know what I'm saying?
There's a difference between seeing something and not liking it and actively looking for something to see and not like. And the latter is what we're seeing with the low light reels. Like, come on, guys, what are we doing? You should be happy the guy made the Pro Bowl. You can talk about whether he deserved it, but I don't think
I've ever said, "Oh my God, I am disappointed that Evan Engram made the Pro Bowl." I've always said Evan Engram made the Pro Bowl, and then I laugh. That's it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense.
But thank you, Gritty Giants fan, for coming on, man. Love having you on, bro.
Yeah, we got coming in there, bro.
Mm-hmm. What?
Authentic's coming in a minute. You know Authentic?
Yeah, I watched y'all guys.
Thank you, my man. Have a good one.
You too.
Next person I'm going to have on here is Wolves. Wolves, as usual, you're going to have to turn that on just as a precaution. Turn that camera on, my man. Let me just quickly do this thing right here. Wolves, how you doing, bro?
What up?
You doing good, my man? What's up? What you want to talk about?
All right. So first off, Dwayne Trashkins. All right. I've been using that term since Daniel Jones forced Trashkins to call him daddy. All right. I mean, come on.
Back in week 17 last year?
Week 16, I think it was, when Daniel Jones absolutely torched that defense. I mean, I've just been saying Dwayne Trashkins ever since.
I like
And
Haskins is good.
I have a more I have a funnier name. I think Bad Dog would like it, Dwayne Haskins. But
It rhymes.
yeah, I think that's more of a Bad Dog term. But I digress. Look, the pandemic has been sus, but considering the public image of the pandemic, you don't go out and party, especially like strippers, as I'm seeing in the chat.
Shout out to Authentic in here, by the way. But yeah, this man went to a strip club, which you don't do.
What up, Authentic?
What's going on, fam? How you living?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. No complaints. About to get this grubbing.
And Nate, you said Dwayne Haskins had a select image on his phone. You mind?
I actually did not know he had that image on his phone.
You don't remember that?
During the draft live.
On draft night, they zoomed in on it before they realized what it was. Yeah. You don't
wow.
This is hilarious. And the girlfriend was sitting next to him. Yeah.
Oh my god.
It was hilarious.
I did not know that.
And this girl was like looking at the camera as the camera pointed at his phone, and she's full frontal on the screensaver. It was hilarious, man. The announcers had no idea what to say.
I don't remember that. I think I should be ashamed of myself for not remembering that.
Considering the nickname you gave him, but continue with your thought there, Wolf.
But on Evan Engram, I have a feeling that the Eagles fans are in on this, and that the Eagles coaching staff are unanimously voting Evan Engram to the Pro Bowl. I've been saying this since he was selected. Like, I'm happy for the guy, but I have a strange, just that weird feeling that Eagles fans, just the Eagles in general.
Why the Eagles though? Like, out of all the teams you picked,
because he dropped that very crucial pass.
I mean,
was this a thing on Twitter? Was this a thing on Twitter where Eagles fans tweeting out vote Evan Engram in?
No, this is just my personal thoughts. It's my personal thoughts. Like Evan Engram can get open, all right? So I can kind of understand it in that perspective, but
once again, when you consider the competition at the tight end for the NFC this year, it makes it a lot more understandable how this dude got the nod.
Wasn't there some guy from the Packers though that was like doing better? Wasn't there like some dude from the Packers that was like
he should have gotten it, in my opinion.
Yeah. So that's why I've been saying this is the doing of the Eagles. It's all one big conspiracy.
Wolves, I gotta ask you, just to make sure who I'm dealing with here. You're not a fan that will go and make lowlights of Evan Engram, are you?
No, not at all. I mean, you have to be a real loser to.
You have to be a certain type of person, yeah.
Yeah.
But Authentic, I definitely want to hear your thoughts on this. Response to not only Wolves, but the rest of us. You know, Authentic was actually chopping it up on the Evan Engram situation on Twitter. Go follow him over there. What's up, man?
I mean, as far as the Pro Bowl selection, I just popped in. That's what y'all talking about, though, right? Yeah, I mean, Tunyon definitely got robbed on that, I think. But as far as if it wasn't Evan Engram, there's not much competition at tight end in the NFC. A lot of people been banged up. To me, Kittle is the best tight end in the NFL, and his injury, that definitely makes some room for Evan Engram. I want to say his statistics in the 6 games was even close to what Evan Engram has been producing this year, too. The touchdowns are super low for Evan Engram, so that part of it is a bit of a shocker, but he is second in yards in the NFC as far as tight ends go. So, I mean, it's either him, Logan Thomas from Washington, who he's been having a pretty good second half of the season as well, too. But Tunyon definitely got robbed on that. But big up to Evan Engram for making it in as a Giant. I mean, we only got 2 players. We got to take what we can get.
I got to ask you, how did Graham Gano not make it?
I know. That's wild. I didn't look at the other kickers that made it, though.
It was Young Wei Koo from the Falcons.
Oh, and he's been balling.
In the AFC, he would have made it.
Yeah, and the problem too this year is they're not playing the game, so there wasn't no alternate players or no reserves, no nothing like that too. So a lot of people got snubbed this year. I mean, I think Blake Martinez is a guy that should have been considered for sure. Leonard Williams been balling out for sure. He should have been considered as well too. But a lot of competition at all those positions, and I do think Evan Engram kind of lucked up, man, there with just not having much competition here in the NFC with the injuries that have been the tight ends this year.
Mm-hmm. Wolves, what's the next topic you want to hop on?
The next topic is I just want to do some self-gloating real quick. Don't mind me.
Go ahead.
At the beginning of the year, while everyone in the Giants community was saying like 5-11, 6-10, I was on the 7-9 to 8-8 train. I was pretty confident in Joe Judge, even with the pandemic. I was saying, hey, 7-9, 8-8, let's go. And Giants are currently what, 5-9?
Mhm.
You gotta remember the Bucks game, the Dallas game, and the Eagles game. I mean, hey, I was saying 7-9 and 8-8, and the Giants' best case scenario 9-7. So, hey, like, yeah,
Oh, but
Yeah,
are
you're
we
right there.
living in a theoretical world right now, though, Wolves?
theoretical. No,
All right. So if we end up going 5-11, what's happening? You still gloating?
no, I'm not gloating.
That's a good question.
just, I'm not gloating. No.
Okay, no, I just had to
I just need to get stuff off my chest because I've just had a
100%. Because I agree with you. I think everybody on this panel would say a couple things break right. The Giants are 100% like an 8-8, 9-7 team, clinching the NFC East into the playoffs. But we can't continue living in that past. I'm going to shift to what the homie Joel Yatto said when he was on here. We're still a good team, and we're still having a good year no matter what happens at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what's up, Wolves? Anything else?
No, besides get off the Daniel Jones hate trade. I'm looking at everyone, Bad Dog, Logan, whoever else in the chat. I think Jaden's on that train too. So I'm just looking at
Yeah,
everyone.
you can't forget Ligma, bro. Ligma's name right now is
Oh,
Tank for
Ligma
Mexico.
isn't a Daniel Jones guy either. Oh, I thought he was on board.
His name is literally Tank for Mac Jones.
Which is, I'm not even gonna.
I mean, Ligma's always been a troll. So I mean, Ligma and I are the KB trolls. So who knows? I can't really take him seriously.
All right, then. Authentic, I gotta ask you, man. Give me your feelings after the Cleveland Browns game. How you feeling with this team?
I mean, I tried to go into it a little bit optimistic. And I talked about putting my Giants pride on the line pretty much. I think it was a game that we had to win. But and I picked us to win it too, but I don't think it's a game that most Giants fans didn't think we were going to win that game. Browns are coming in super hot, man. Baker Mayfield has been balling out. Last 8 games, 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I mean, he's really playing some really good football right now. And you saw him throw the ball. I mean, granted, it wasn't like tight windows against the Giants. You saw us with the lack of Bradbury in the secondary.
And
but
Holmes.
And Holmes, yeah. So I mean, we got people on IR in the secondary as well. You know, that made it really tough for us. And I think that it took Patrick Graham a little bit too long to try to adjust. And I think at the halftime, they tried to adjust just a little bit, tried to bring some defensive ends out there and coverage and things like that. But, I mean, really, I don't think we had the personnel to match up with them. Seemed like Baker was on his best day, and this Browns offense, passing-wise, was on their best day. You only had 5 incompletions in that game from Baker Mayfield, damn near 300 yards. I mean, it's pretty much a perfect, flawless game from him. He's got the highest quarterback rating of all quarterbacks this past weekend. I mean, they balled out. They did what they had to do.
Yeah, Nate, I don't know if I got your thoughts.
You were talking about how Baker Mayfield made a lot of great throws, but not all of them were like tight windows. That reminded me of what I wanted to say before. Hub, you and Joel were talking about the receiver separation and the whole 1 yard is open in the league. And Authentic, you talked about this before too on your stream.
Yeah.
And that just reminded me. I wanted to say yards of separation, like per route, per average, whatever the hell it's per, is a bad metric for measuring success of receivers. And before I get to that, I do want to preface this by saying I acknowledge we need to infuse some more talent into this core and we need to sort that out. But nevertheless, it's a really bad metric because it doesn't take into account against man versus zone. It is much easier
to get
yards of separation of zone than man. We all know this.
Yep.
So,
and the Giants were definitely playing a lot of
take that stat with a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wonder how defenses scheme against us. That's something I probably got to look into myself. Like, are teams playing more zone or are they playing more man against us? It seems like they're probably playing more man. Yeah.
Wolves, you got any thoughts on that, bro?
Yes. I want to go back to what Joel was saying because, I mean, I've been seeing the title saying blowout, blowout this, blowout that. I don't think it was a blowout. I think this was, again, like I said last week, rookie, well, you said this, rookie head coaching mistakes. I was saying just coaching blunders. What was with that fake pun? Like, I was so confused, and I think the most reasonable explanation is, Judge was probably trying to confuse that defense too, which, I mean, with Graham Gano open, I guess it kind of worked out, but Riley Dixon is not quarterback for a reason. So
you meant the fake field goal, right?
Yeah.
So I do want to say something about that because you were talking about it before.
Yes.
My issue with this is very similar to a lot of the trick plays that we've called this year. it wasn't that it was a bad design, because it was actually a pretty clever play. What they did was they made the center the eligible receiver by making the end man on the line. It was a clever design. And if it had worked, it would have been fine. But nevertheless, at the end of the day, you don't call that play after your first drive of the game. You're coming into this game, you're big underdogs. No one expects you to do anything. You got your backup quarterback, and you just drove all the way down the field on the legs of a big old return on the kickoff from Dion Lewis. And you're going to call a fake field goal in the first quarter with the score tied at 0-0? That just doesn't make sense. You've been seeing this all year. The design of the trick plays isn't the problem. It's when we're calling them.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. The timing was a little bit strange, and I think he was just trying to jump out to an early lead. And he talked about it in the press conference. He said they knew they had to get 7s in this game. You know, you wasn't going to walk away with getting a bunch of 3s. And I said this on my podcast earlier. You know, like we didn't score a touchdown in that whole game.
Yeah, the score of the game doesn't show just how good Freddie Kitchens' play calling was. And I feel like that it's going to be this game that either gets Freddie Kitchens the OC job, or it'll stick a boot up Jason Garrett's place where the sun don't shine and say, hey, you got to get serious.
Let's slow our roll here on Freddie Kitchens. Yeah, he had a decent play calling game. I grant you that, but we can't forget that when he was in Cleveland, play calling was one of the things that got him fired.
I will say
was as a head coach, though.
Yeah,
right?
as a head coach, I will say that it's like the same.
I'm not sure who the OC was when he was the head coach there.
He was still calling the plays.
He was still calling the plays. Gotcha.
The thing is, though, Nate, like every OC that goes to a head coach that fails, it's just that they don't have the time, or they just don't have the management skills to manage calling plays and everything else.
Play calling isn't really a time or a management thing, because play calling is very. It's not like the game plan. The game plan is a different thing from the play calling. But when you're in the play calling, that's just knowing the field position, knowing the tendencies, knowing all that stuff, and dialing up the right plays. That's an in-the-moment type thing.
I agree with you.
I think when you're play calling, you either got it or you don't.
I agree with you, but then that means every single offensive coordinator that had a great career as offensive coordinator and then moved to head coach was just not a good offensive coordinator, apparently. That's kind of what you're saying.
It depends on the system, you know, because when you look at somebody like the Kansas City Chiefs, you know, they got Eric Bieniemy over there, but he's not calling the plays. You got Andy Reid, who is an offensive mastermind at head coach. I think when you got a guy like Joe Judge, who clearly seems like more of a defensive mastermind, you know, offense probably isn't his main thing. I think it's case-by-case scenario, you know, as far as like offensive coordinators elevating to be guys that are head coaches. Kyle Shanahan, you know, that's a guy, you know, when he's an OC, he's making a decision.
I mean, we played against one today. This week, I mean, Kevin Stefanski, who's having a great year as a first-year head coach, offensive coordinator, moved to head coach, having a pretty good time there.
Can we talk about Kevin Stefanski for a minute? We thinking possible sleeper coach of the year?
Possibly.
Maybe.
I mean, he's called some great games. My cousin actually he played for the Washington football team when they were the Redskins for a short stint around the time Fred Smoot was playing corner. And he told me about Stefanski before he got the job. He was like, he's the one who deserves the head coaching job. He was relatively off my radar for a while. And I didn't hear about him until he got to Cleveland much, but he's been doing a great job. And just one little thing on the Freddie Kitchens thing. You know, I think with Jason Garrett, I don't think his job security is really in jeopardy here. But I think seeing the game plan that Freddie Kitchens ran in this game, it will, you know, raise, you know, a little bit of alarm for him to be like, okay, I talked about this on my show today too about Evan Engram, being that he's the tight end coach. He had Evan Engram running all the right routes in this game. The seam routes were looking really good. Colt McCoy missed him just short on one of them, which could have been a touchdown early in that game. If you just put that ball out just a little bit more out there, that's probably going to be caught, and it was a great play on that. But I don't think that at this moment, Freddie Kitchens is really putting any pressure on Jason Garrett as far as the OC, as far as taking the job. But, you know, as these years go to come, you know, he might be there. I've been hearing a lot about them trying to hire in-house, and I think if they are going to hire in-house, he's probably a guy who's probably got first dibs on the job, you know?
Not to mention, you bring up a really good point with him being the tight ends coach and how he used Engram. He used all the tight ends this game. Yeah. He got almost every tight end on the roster that was out on the field involved, which is not something we've seen all year. Like because he knows those guys, he knows his personnel. You know what I'm saying? So that's a really good point you brought up there. You were gonna say something, man? What was that?
Yeah. When Hugh Jackson and all of his dumpster fire glory was fired in 2018, wasn't Freddie Kitchens the interim OC?
Oh, okay. So let's talk about that. Freddie Kitchens, this is the timeline, right? This is the timeline of the recent Browns. They drafted Baker Mayfield going into that year. Hugh Jackson continued to suck. And Baker Mayfield had a bad first half of his year because they were trying to get like a vertical offense going, and that's not his strength. Then
and Baker didn't start, right? Wasn't it? Didn't they start?
They started
Tyrod the first couple games.
Yeah,
first couple games, but then Baker stepped in and it still wasn't working.
Yeah.
So the point is, Baker's going his first half of the year, right? They're trying to get this vertical offense working, and that's not his strength set. They go to the West Coast offense when Hugh Jackson is fired. Freddie Kitchen takes over, goes to the offense that Baker Mayfield is strong in. It works out beautifully for the rest of the year. And then Baker Mayfield is saying, I should have been rookie of the year over Saquon Barkley, which we all know is not true. Now, fast forward to next year. Freddie Kitchens gets the head coaching job because he was brilliant that past year as the interim guy, and it just makes sense. He comes in and then switches back to the same offense that wasn't working in the beginning of the year before. And that's why Baker Mayfield and that offense sucked so bad last year that people were saying Baker wasn't the guy.
Yeah. I mean, Baker can clearly ball. We've definitely seen that. And I kind of want to try to pivot this just a little bit because if you look what Philadelphia is doing with Jalen Hurts right now, right, it shows you that just plugging one player in a lineup can completely change the way an offense looks. And the Giants got to take a page out of that book. I don't know how, but chemistry is a big thing here. You know, like the Giants need a personnel, a core group of players that are out there that have that chemistry to be able to put up a lot of points on the board because just putting Jalen Hurts at quarterback completely morphed that offense. They look like a totally different offense. Alshon Jeffrey went from like not getting targets, not catching passes when he just got back. Maybe we could say the injury has something to do with that a little bit too, but I don't know, man. That offense is looking like they're clicking on all cylinders. And as far as like all teams go in the NFC East right now, they look the hottest to me right now, even in a loss against the Cardinals, because we saw what the Cardinals did to the Giants offense. They straight shut us out.
Yep. And by the way, this isn't like a super logical football thing. This isn't a big scheme thing. This is just, I'll tell you what worries me about Jalen Hurts, because I have like zero confidence in him as of yet as the franchise guy there, because he only played 2 games. But I'll tell you what worries me about Jalen Hurts. He fits the mold of classic Philadelphia quarterbacks so well. Good arm talent, but great rushing ability. He's got that mobile ability. Apparently, the team really likes him. Like you think the Eagles quarterbacks of old, the Randall Cunninghams, the Donovan McNabbs, the guys the Michael Vicks of the world, that can run it and throw it. The guys that can really scamper around and get free yards. That's what worries me a little bit. But I think y'all were talking about Carson Wentz a little bit on your stream earlier. And I think it was Beard that said someone would take a chance on Carson Wentz. That is what makes me happy, because that's not true. The Eagles are not going to move that contract, man.
There's nobody willing.
No.
I think we'll see him get a job somewhere. I do think we'll see him get a job somewhere.
And then there's going to be the guys like the Darnolds, the Brissetts, that people are going to say, oh, they just didn't have the right situation. Or the Teddy Bridgewaters, they're going to be the bridge to the next quarterback.
Yeah, Althonic, that's a good point, man. Not only the contract, but there are going to be a good amount of options this year. Like at least this year, I don't see anybody taking the chance on him.
I don't see him sitting out for a year. I think either he will remain an Eagle and be a backup, or I think that somebody's going to try to find a way to make a play on him. Kind of reminds me of the Nick Foles situation when he left the Jaguars, because that was a big contract too. Not quite this Carson Wentz style of contract, but that was an $80 million 4-year contract that Chicago took upon it, and they offloaded most of it to the back end of the contract. So at the first 2 years, they kind of restructured it so they could pay him cheaper for them first 2 years. I think a team like, with the Colts, I think it depends on what Phillip Rivers does. I think even with the Pittsburgh Steelers, with Ben Roethlisberger playing so terrible lately, that could be another squad. I think San Francisco has quarterback issues, but it has to be a team, I think, who's like ready to compete, that has the weapons around them, and with an offense that's not similar to what's happening with Philadelphia. That style of offense is not working. And I also think with Jalen Hurts, you got the new play caller in there. And that could also be a thing. Bad Dog talked about this a lot when Jalen Hurts first got the start in the first game, and he talked about crediting a lot of the success to being that they really molded that game plan around him. There was a lot of running. Jalen Hurts barely threw the ball in that game. He only threw for like 100 yards in that game, but he rushed for like 115 yards as well. And I think, you just got a scheme, which I kind of think that kind of leans to y'all point a little bit too, though, is like, is there a team out there that thinks they have a scheme that they could bring Carson Wentz in and it would actually work?
And that brings up the Colts, because they're in a weird limbo for me with Carson Wentz because on the one hand, right, they have Frank Reich there. So it kind of makes sense. And you think, well, Carson Wentz, he could fit right in there. But on the other hand, the Colts also, maybe I'm wrong here, but don't they not quite have the room to take on his contract anyway?
Yeah, they already have 2 quarterback contracts on their books.
Yeah. And then you look at Wentz, right? And you think already on top of that, this isn't Colts specific, but you just think about Wentz and you think it's not just the contract because that's not his only problem. The major concern is how terribly he's played this year. And personally, what I'm really concerned about, if I'm a team that's looking to pick up on him or roll the dice on him or whatever, I'm concerned if he's damaged goods. Because up here, it's very possible that he's damaged goods. You think about all the stuff he's gone through, the doubters in the beginning of his career, all the way up from that low to the high of taking his team to the playoffs. Then he gets injured and watches his backup win a ring.
Right.
Then he comes back the next year and people are saying his backup should have been the guy anyway. He's playing in a city that clearly doesn't.
It nearly happens again.
This terrible year. I think he might be broken.
Yeah, and he, I think he showed some signs of life in that one year, 2019, where, they were banged up heavy. They had nobody at wide receiver. Their offensive line was completely crushed, and he was still winning games, but this year he's definitely took a step back. When I look at it with just my eyes, it doesn't look that different. It's just you've seen a lot more turnovers. He's getting sacked a ton more.
So, Authentic, do you think it's just defenses finally getting to know how to get this guy?
It's hard to tell, man.
Because I think that's something that we could consider as well.
It could be that. It's weird because he's always had a play style that kind of reminded me of Ben Roethlisberger a little bit. He's the guy who would hang in the pocket, people hanging off his jersey. And especially when the Giants would play against the Eagles, we'd have that sack in our grasp. Literally he's about to go down and this dude will will himself out of it and make a throw down the field and complete a pass. But the one question I wanted to ask y'all, because I can't remember, I'm a little bit unfamiliar with this, is there any other running backs that were over there with him besides Miles Sanders? Who was the main back over there before Miles Sanders?
2019?
Jordan Howard.
Yeah,
Jordan Howard. That's right. And he didn't have a fantastic year with them. I remember that because he was coming from Chicago.
They didn't know what they had in Miles Sanders, so Jordan Howard was sort of the established guy, and he got most of the reps all the way till the end of the year. And they were like, "Hey, this Miles Sanders kid's pretty good. Let's let him."
Oh, and I think there's somebody else too, Nate. I think there was somebody else they had over there.
Power, 2019?
Maybe 2018. Another power back that they had.
If you're referring to LeGarrette Blount,
Ajayi.
Yeah, I know you're saying.
That's who it was.
Yeah, it was Ajayi and Blount the Super Bowl year, I think.
That's who it was. Yeah, that's who I was missing. So maybe it's based upon that kind of a style because that kind of leads me to talk about Ryan Tannehill a little bit. When he was in Miami, he never had that bruiser running back, and maybe that's the kind of style you got to do with Carson Wentz.
Wasn't Ajayi with Tannehill in Miami?
It might have been after.
At one point.
Yeah.
I think so.
And I thought Tannehill put up some good numbers over there. I mean, I thought he.
Yeah, I think everybody was kind of surprised when Tannehill. It's not like he was the problem in Miami.
Yeah,
right. I talked about this tonight on my show. I was saying, with these guys that play on the cusp of being good, you kind of can't really tell if they're gonna have a failure next season after they signed a big contract or if they're the guy. It's really hard. You can't give them that quarterback money. And Daniel Jones is going to have that problem if he doesn't come out here and ball out next year. You got to prove that the organization investing in you is the right decision. And I think that happened to Tannehill. I talked about it happening to Mariota, who I didn't think was playing terrible ball, when he was with Tennessee. You look at Mariota and you look at Tannehill, at the time, it didn't look like Tannehill was going to be a major upgrade. But somehow, some way, that ended up working. And the Beard talked about this too on the show tonight. With Mariota, they had 3 seasons of 9-7. I mean, that's the definition of consistency right there. He just needed to take that next leap.
The classic Tennessee 9-7.
Yeah,
they always 9-7, right?
You can say it's kind of just an old saying, a proverb, but there's something to be said for a change of scenery. Sometimes that's just what a player needs to turn his career around. You see it all the time in other sports too, in basketball and baseball. It happens in football, man. We like to think of football, and it's very true. We like to think of football as a very scheme-heavy game. It's all about what's the chess at 90 miles an hour. That's very true. But sometimes it's just in the mental aspect, man.
Yeah, that's facts too. And before we move on from that, real quick, I just want to say, I come from an era where I watched when quarterbacks and players in general didn't make nowhere near the kind of money they make now.
Yeah.
And I think maybe we're overemphasizing how much quarterbacks should get paid in the NFL.
Oh,
a guy like Patrick Mahomes should make a lot more money than Ryan Tannehill.
That's a fact. I don't think that's an opinion, and I think almost every football fan would agree. That's a fact. Most overpaid position in the entire world, let alone the world of sports, man. Or in general.
Didn't the entertainer say this? The most important yet most overrated position in football.
I think he did.
Yeah.
They get the most credit and they get the most blame. It's just the way. But then when it comes going back to that money aspect, I don't know how, but the quarterback market and in general other positions too, like receiver, running back, defensive end is getting up there in pricing. It's gonna have to somehow, some way level out. I don't know how it's gonna happen though.
Yeah, I think that would change the way a lot of these teams approach how they pay the quarterback, because guys like Carson Wentz wouldn't have got that kind of money.
Because it affects directly how you're building your team for the future. Wolves, real quick, let me get your last thoughts and I'm gonna switch you out here, man.
Yeah, I want to address Authentic's take on Mariota real quick. The only reason why I know what you're talking about last year in 19. The only reason why Mariota wasn't throwing any interceptions just because he wasn't throwing the ball. I mean, you couldn't say he wasn't playing terrible ball, but there was a reason why the Titans were what, like 3-5 at that point in the season, was because he just wasn't throwing the ball.
But like as a Giants fan, Wolves, you already know at 3-5, we would have took that 8 games in. You feel me? And then you got a chance to get to the back half of the season. And this is the thing about guys like Mariota. The colder it gets, the harder it is to defend against a guy like that, especially when you got a running back like Derrick Henry. So the first 8 games is not, I'm not going to say it's irrelevant, but not as impactful as the back half of the season would be. And when you see him come in that game when Derek Carr goes out, I saw a winner with my eyes.
Oh, that is true.
He was showing the upside, man. He's still got stuff left in the tank.
Yeah.
I saw two. I mean, Mariota was really just the opposite of Daniel Jones in that Bucs game. On one hand, it was Jones trying to play hero ball. On the other hand, it was Mariota just not showing up. Just the only reason why he had 0 interceptions because he just didn't throw the ball. So. Yeah,
which I'll take the interceptions. We dealt with Eli for a long time. He had a lot of games where it ended where he just heaved one up down the middle. Hakeem Nicks wouldn't get it, and you got an interception, game over. But sometimes you get that win.
The absolute last thing before I go, all the Daniel Jones haters sound just like the Eli haters.
100
from 2013 to 2019.
I hope we right though. I just hope we right.
There is
bro.
difference.
Can you imagine? If somehow, we're wrong and then bam, it just gives them so much more fuel for any type of future player that they don't like, man.
Shit, man.
Yeah.
I
doing them Wolves
times, and I'm going to keep saying this, but somehow I sound like an old man when I'm 16 years old. But people these days have such high expectations about how fast the quarterback should develop because they see the Patrick Mahomes. They see Deshaun Watson. They see these guys that are so good after like 1-2 years.
Yeah.
You can't expect that, man. That's not normal.
Microwave
Russell
mentality.
Wilson, same way. And you're right, Hub. It's a microwave mentality. And I think that the ceiling for quarterback has gotten so high. Like these guys are so good, and they're now it's kind of like not turning into the unicorn position. There's a lot of them. You got 5 guys at the top of the league who can all ball out. And then the next 5 guys came in the league and they all started balling out. You look at Lamar Jackson, who people are still like not sold on Lamar Jackson. And I get it, not the greatest thrower, but still led the league in touchdown passes with, I can't remember how many it was last year, but he threw a lot of touchdowns in his MVP season. Even a guy like Jameis Winston, who throws a lot of interceptions. I mean, I feel like they did give him a decent amount of time with Tampa, but their team should give him a second chance. I mean, the guy has shown that he can at least throw the ball down the field and rack up yards, 100%.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, before we get to this Calvin thing, because I do want to talk about that. That's a great question. You brought up the whole, our quarterback's the most overpaid position, and probably, but just, you said it. There was a time when this kind of money was unthinkable. Like, you ever watch the movie Moneyball? You look back and you think they're talking about Johnny Damon in that movie. And he was, for those of you in the chat that aren't baseball fans, he was a very, very good baseball player in the era of that movie. And he was going to get a monster deal. And that deal was for $7 million. Now Mike Trout is out here earning like $50 a year.
Right.
Batting an eye. And it's
exactly.
Like the economy of sports has changed so much. It's incredible.
Yeah, and it seems like the cap space doesn't match it. It's just like
which
you spend all that money
why-
on a quarterback.
That's exactly why we're even having this conversation. If the cap space was keeping up in some crazy way, that brings in genuine questions about the actual economy, not the sports economy, if the cap space was actually keeping up. But if it was keeping up, nobody's talking about the quarterback is overpaid. That's the whole reason. Shots Calvin for a great question. He said, Joel mentioned earlier about quarterbacks who have the patience to roll outside the pocket for short gains. Is this instinctive, or do you think coaching plays as a part of? Let me start off with Authentic and then Nate.
I mean, that I got to agree with Bad Dog on this. He always talks about these are the kind of things that you really can't teach, you know, and I'll use our team as an example of this. When you see Colt McCoy maneuver in the pocket, to me, and granted, it was a small sample size, but in this past game, he makes those decisions quick when it's time to move and when it's time to go. And I think Daniel Jones, the small steps in the pocket, and they're working on it. You could see it in Daniel Jones' warm-ups. They're working on that. They're trying to keep him on a circle spot while he's moving his feet to get position in the pocket. Some of these guys just come in and they got that instinct. And I talked about this on our show last week. When Daniel Jones got sacked, front side pressure, I was worried about that. That was the first time I saw that all year, where front side he got hit and he completely didn't see it and he fumbled the ball. And a lot of people were saying, oh, that's not his fault. That's not his fault because, yeah, no one blocked that edge rusher. I get that.
DJ Cardinals, the front side pressure?
Yeah, against the Cardinals, yep. When he fumbled the early fumble.
I said that was on him a little bit just because it was not on his blind side. I get that the dude wasn't blocked, but you should have at least moved a little bit. Like, it came up straight up into him, man. Yeah.
And you know, I think his skill set gets him in trouble. You know, it's like quarterbacks who can't move, they know they got to be on that swivel. And when you stand in the pocket, especially these days in the NFL, I mean, these edge rushers, even these dudes playing in the interior of defensive lines, they're fast. I mean, I can't remember who it was. Oh, in the Pittsburgh game on a Monday night, there was some dude who like chased a screenplay. He was dead in the middle. This dude was like 300 pounds, belly hanging out. He looked like he was running like a 4.6.
Hayward?
I think so. I'm not 100% sure, but it leaked out to the sideline. And he literally ran all the way out to the sideline. You look at Chase Young when he there was a play against us that he made that was like that one of the corners actually came up and saved the first down as well too. I mean, he's chasing them all the way down the sideline. These guys are faster than ever. So you really got to be a quarterback with your head on the swivel. And as far as us with Daniel Jones, he's got to get better at that. I think that's the number one thing he's got to get better at because he's not necessarily a quick quarterback in the pocket. Daniel Jones got wheels and he can run. Once he gets to that top gear, he's flying. But he's got to have those baby steps and those quick maneuvers, which I did see a little bit of that from Colt McCoy in this game. Like Colt McCoy, you know, he did a good job. And he's holding on to the ball. He's not fumbling, no turnovers in this game. You kind of want to see that kind of rub off on Daniel Jones a bit. And I think Colt McCoy is benefiting from just sitting back, watching what Daniel does wrong in this offense, and then knowing when he gets in the game that he's got to have his head on a swivel.
Yeah, I think just before I get back to that question, because this is a really good question, I brought that question up to Hub because I really thought that was on point. That's really the question you should be asking. And before I get to that, you talked about how these guys are so fast these days, how every position on the field is getting more athletic. We're seeing more and more of these freaks coming out of the draft and the combine, all this crap. And it's so true. Again, I'm going to make another broad sports comparison. This is all across sports. And this is why we're getting more injuries because these guys are training hard and they're pushing themselves to the absolute limit. They're redlining every game. And you look at baseball, right? Again, we are seeing so many Tommy John surgeries, which is UCL for those that don't know. And it's the same reason we have ACL tears. Yeah. These guys are squatting huge. They're making these vicious cuts like Saquon Barkley, hate to say it. And they're making these vicious cuts with all that force. And eventually you're going to pop a ligament. It's going to happen. So when you see that stuff, don't be surprised. Anyway, though, like I said, great question from Joel. This is something I kind of have been thinking about with Jones because I think there's different aspects to it. And I do add the caveat that I am not a quarterbacks coach. So I think when it comes to just pocket skills in general, that's a very broad thing. And Jones, I do think is a little bit bashed on too much because I grant you that he has a lot of dumb mistakes. There's a lot of moments that you're like, dude, what are you doing? But I said this earlier, when you're looking at traits and you're looking at tools, you want to look at good problems and bad problems. And Jones's bad problem is that sometimes he'll straight up not feel it at all. And that's what we're talking about with the front side pressure that he just has to see coming. But when it comes to that, that's a bad problem. That's something that we as fans do need to be concerned about. But that's not like that doesn't encompass all of his problems. When you talk about the other stuff, like some of the moves he makes in the pocket that don't make sense. There was one where in the Eagles game last year, he stepped up in the pocket and he made a great move up in the pocket, climbed the ladder just like you're supposed to, his textbook. And then he just kind of stood there instead of taking off, and he was still trying to read his receivers downfield. And he got sacked because he was just standing there in the open, and that's what happens. That's coachable. So if it's coachable or if it's instinct, I think there's some that's coachable and there's some that's instinct. Every quarterback, and this is what concerns me with Jones, every quarterback has to have that internal clock. Just tick, 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 tick. You got to
bring in the next guest right now.
Yeah, that's real though, Nate.
Benny, how you doing, Benny? Benny the GOAT. You're muted, by the way.
What's up,
there
Benny?
you are, man. How you doing, man?
How's it going?
We cooling.
Yeah, I was just wanting to talk about first, by the way, when I saw that, like, Dwayne Haskins thing, right away when I saw him, like, with the whole thing with when the Giants drafted Daniel Jones, and, like, he was, like, they showed him sitting around, like, upset. And then when they interviewed him, like, you saw the look on his face, like, I knew he was going to be a bad quarterback. Because he does not have, like, he didn't look determined. He just looks, like, mad and upset and just, like, kind of bored. Like, he doesn't, like, seem like, oh, yeah, I'm ready to go prove them wrong. He felt like, he just felt like he's less, like, sad to himself. Like, that's not what's going to build, like, a winning type of quarterback. And then him going out and stuff like that is not going to help. Especially when you have, like, you've gotten multiple chances, you fail, and then they give you another chance. You get really lucky. They give you another chance, and you're just going to waste that? Like, yeah.
And by the way, those of you in the chat, yes, he is my redheaded brother.
That's your bro right there?
Yeah, all of us that have had him on know he knows his stuff. So
that's what's up. Sound like it too. And you're definitely right about that, Benny. I mean, he just he seems like a bonehead kind of guy. It's a character issue.
Oh, I also wanted to say, by the way, it might, like, Evan Engram did not deserve the Pro Bowl at all, but the good thing that we can take out of this is, first of all, his trade value might go up a little bit, maybe. And second of all, who knows, maybe that helps his confidence a little bit. He kind of can help clear up the drops and stuff like that. Maybe get himself, like, on track to start, because he obviously has talent. We know that. He can be a beast if he starts just kind of, like, if he just takes his game to the next level, he can be really good. And he can be a serious weapon that the defense, it's going to be hard for them to defend. So, like, if he can, maybe that just, like, kind of showed him, like, he's like, I got talent, like, I can do this, like, I just got to fix up all my problems and make him, like, kind of determined to become, like, a next like, top tight end in the NFL, hopefully.
And by the way, correct me if I'm wrong. I remember he had some sort of surgery on his foot. Was that a Liz Frank surgery? I thought it was. So some of y'all in the chat tell me, because when you have a Liz Frank surgery, it's that ligament on the underside of your foot. And what a lot of people seem to forget is, although you can still play the same year, you play the whole year with a screw in your foot. And that
was like June of this year.
What was it?
June of this year.
June.
Yeah. Well, was it Liz Frank?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So he's playing this year with a screw in his foot. So the catching isn't impacted by that. But if you want to talk about explosiveness, he's still not, like, totally at his peak of explosiveness. So I will say, I bash on him just as much as the next guy, but he does deserve a little bit of that credit for what he does do well.
No,
I definitely agree with you on that. I wanted to ask y'all, what tight end with that style is probably playing the best right now?
Is it weird for me to say that I think that Evan Engram could be George Kittle, a George Kittle type of tight end?
Yes.
I don't know. Just because you ever seen George Kittle mic'd up, man, he is so physical, man. And he's just having a great time out there running people over.
George Kittle and no.
Yeah, I love George Kittle.
I say that because George Kittle is, like, one of the fastest tight ends that come to mind.
Yeah.
Darren Waller's a pretty fast guy as well at the tight end position.
And Darren Waller beats people with the size, because he's got the long arms and he's taller. But the reason why I asked that too is because, like, I think that with Evan Engram, the better he can get at blocking, the better it is for him, because then you can leave him out there on the field in situations where you can run the rock. And if he can become a dominant presence blocking, then it should open up things more for him in the pass game, because teams, when they're putting 8 in the box, I think that's when Evan Engram could really excel,
Facts. I mean, that's why it was so cool and why we were all so excited when we saw his blocking improve this year. So that is big. And listen, as much as we all bash on him, I am a person who who believes in patience. And I said this earlier. I said this earlier
what up, Wills?
where I said that Engram has had plenty of time. And I do think that. I stand by that statement that with the hands, it's an issue that we've been having for too long now.
Yeah.
But again, it's a big if. I understand that. It's a big if. But if he could get the hands, if he could just eliminate some of the drops, not all, but some, if he could just eliminate, say, the concentration drops or the butterfingers, something, just get a little bit more consistency. Like you said, he could be dominant in this league because he has all the other tools. Coming into this year, there were two things. It was the hands and it was the blocking. Apparently now the blocking is starting to come around. So
he's getting better.
If we could get the hands a little bit going, just a little bit, he could be the guy. At the moment, I'm not confident in it, but hey, I'd love to be surprised. I'd love to be proven wrong.
Yeah, and I think his contract might run out before he actually gets there. But, I mean, in this offseason, I think he needs to work with somebody, a specialist, to try to get the hands right. Because to play the tight end position in the NFL, you got to be able to catch passes in the tightest of tightest windows. I think that's what made Jason Witten so great in that Cowboys offense. Because when you see Jason Witten run, you're like, how is Witten getting open?
Old man, slow man Witten.
Slow as ever, but he did little things in his game, little techniques that he used to get open and get just a little space. And when he would get that space, some of those, you see these plays with Evan Engram where the defender's kind of climbing down his back. Those are a lot of the ones that he drops when he has pressure coming from the backside, which for a guy like Jason Witten, he never dropped those kind of passes. You never even saw a drop issue with Jason Witten in his career for real. And Evan Engram, I just think he might need to just try to work with a specialist. When I see his technique, he looks like a guy that can't catch.
Yeah.
Real quick before anybody else adds on, Nate, real quick.
At a high school that doesn't have positions, so they label him athlete. That's what Evan Engram looks like.
And I've been saying that for a while. I don't think he has a lot of potential. I've always said people mistake the athleticism for potential. He's a dude with great athleticism. Don't mistake that for potential. I got about 20 minutes more here, guys. So I'm gonna switch out. Benny, let me get your last final thoughts quickly, and then I'm gonna get the next person in.
I just wanted to add on to the Evan Engram thing. One thing I noticed with him, and maybe it's because of the injuries, but you watch a guy like George Kittle, at the after he catches it and he goes for more yards, he's fighting for every yard. He is he's really pushing and stuff like that. I just don't really see that with Evan Engram, and maybe it's because of the injuries, but I feel like he doesn't sometimes he kind of plays it safe and just goes out of bounds or something like that. He doesn't always give that strength that a tight end might tend to use.
It could be 100, and that's what I say about the style. Because he's got a real wide receiver kind of style when he's out in passing routes. He's not a bruiser. And I don't know what kind of tight end really gives me those vibes. Maybe you got to be taller, I feel like, to be that kind of guy. You got to be like an Antonio Gates, those power forward basketball style type guys that were transitioned into tight ends, which I think is what Waller is right now. But Evan Engram, you got to have ball skills if you're going to be that kind of guy. And right now he doesn't have that. But to what Hub said about the potential, I think he does have the potential because we've seen Evan Engram take short routes and go 50, go 80. He went 80 yards last year on a catch. And I think that's potential. If we look at Daniel Jones and we think that guy has potential at quarterback, I think we got to look at Evan Engram kind of the same way. But I got to agree with Nate on this. He has had the time. He has had time to develop his game. And we really haven't seen that much of an improvement. If anything, we've seen a fall off with the hands and the blocking becoming a little bit better, but that leash is getting real short. We got a little bit of time left for us to try to correct those mistakes.
That's why I label myself not Evan Ingram's biggest fan. It's exactly what he just brought up, time. We've given this dude more than enough time for him to develop, in my opinion, into at least a very reliable tight end, or just a reliable tight end for the Giants. That's all I want him to be. Just be reliable. You don't have to be the greatest at anything. Just be somebody we could, you know what? Evan Ingram's out there. He's open. I'm going to give him the ball, and I know he's going to come down with it.
See, I'm one to take the good with the bad, right?
You look at the tight ends, right? You want consistency, and you touched on that. And I think Authentic brought up something interesting. He is a tight end that plays like a receiver. So let me propose something here. The old saying goes, the first guy through the wall always gets bloodied up. So do we think that it's possible Evan Engram is sort of like that sort of hybrid type model player, a guy that hasn't quite
good point
extent where he's a mix, and we could be seeing him as sort of a prototype, a little bit of a predecessor to a guy that could be a little more successful in that sort of model?
Yeah, and you have to play to the strengths of your players, and I feel like he has not had a coordinator that has really done that for him yet, to be honest. And with Evan Engram, I don't want to see him go to another team and start balling out. But I think this also goes back to the money thing we was talking about earlier, right? Because I'll take the good with the bad if we could bring Evan Engram back and he's not making top tight end dollar, right?
Sure,
but if we got to re-sign him to a contract where he's going to really want some good bread, I'm not down for that either, unless he completely improves. But I think in the back of all Giants fans' minds, we know them drops they're still there.
Yeah, Benny, I'm going to have to switch you out now, my guy. Have a good one.
All right, Benny. Peace, Benny. You was dope, bro.
Next person I'm going to get in here will be somebody that's been waiting for a long time here.
And I got about 5 minutes. This will probably be my last one. I got that dinner up there waiting.
I'm going to be out at 11. So hopefully these last three guests here in here get their time. Shout out to Jaden. There's Jaden Dawkins. How you doing, my man? Jaden, your mic might be muted.
Nah, it doesn't say it.
I'm gonna let him go. I'm probably bring him back in later if he's there. True. The next person up has their name as Joe Judge is my dad. I'm gonna need you to turn on your camera before I bring you on because I don't recognize that name. Otherwise, we not gonna get on. So he turned on his camera. How you doing, Joe Judge is my dad?
What's good, guys?
Oh, this is Manny Brito. This Manny. This is you, right?
Yeah, this is me.
I heard. How you doing, Manny?
Good, and you?
I'm good, man. What you trying to talk about?
All right, since it's about to be 11, and I was looking at your description, and it said that you would like to talk about movies and anime. I just wanted to ask all of you what your favorite movie is.
My favorite movie?
Y'all want me to?
Yeah, you could start that. I don't know if I could narrow it down to
I know my
movie.
favorite movies off the top. I like conceptual movies. I like a little bit of sci-fi. I'll go for today because my top movies kind of always change. But conceptually, I love The Matrix. I think the first Matrix is probably my favorite movie. When I saw that in theaters, it was just a game changer for me. I liked Jim Carrey in Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind. I think that's a really good conceptual movie too. And third, for today, I will probably go with maybe Donnie Darko.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted with the fact that you just narrowed down all the movies ever to 3. I could never, man. One. Come on.
Yeah, Nate, I don't know if I can narrow it down to one either. I mean, one of them that always comes to mind, for me at least, is Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump always remains like one of my top movies of all time, no matter how many times that like top 10 list always changes, and it still remains to this day the only movie that could ever make me cry like a baby when I watch it, man. I love that movie, Forrest Gump.
Fire movie.
I'm a big, and this comes into like I love sci-fi and drone. You guys know I have my Halo streams every now and again when I play Halo for you guys. I'm a big Transformers fan as well, and I would put Bumblebee up there. It's not a movie that anybody would consider one of their favorites, but it's my favorite because of what it means to my childhood and one that I like the Bumblebee movie.
That's a sleeper. That's a sleeper right there. But a lot of people don't mess with that.
The Transformers, they get a lot of flack, and it's warranted. It is warranted. I personally like them, but the Bumblebee movie, which I think should be considered separate from them, it's very low budget compared to the rest of them. It's a lot more story focused, and that's why I like it. It really hits home and stuff like that. And if
shot really well,
beautifully shot, and I could actually understand the movements of the robots and stuff. And if I had to go with a third one, if I had to go with a third movie, what would it be? Because I can't narrow it down.
We got no comedies yet.
Yeah,
I like that.
I don't know if anybody would put comedies up there.
I know, right?
But I can't think of my third one right now. I'm probably going to think of it when Nate gives his, though. Nate, go on. I'm going to continue to think of this third one.
I don't want to do this, man. I'm always going to forget one and
give us one. Give us something, Nate.
All right. So I think, first off, like you said, it's changing every day. But if I just had to go off the top of my head, I'd say probably in any particular order, we're looking at, just because I was a kid when this came out and it hit me where I lived, I'm going to say Dark Knight. Still Dark Knight.
And fun fact, this year it just got inducted into that vault of movies for like being considered one of the greatest movies of all time. I forgot what it's called.
Yeah, good. It deserves it. I'm gonna say I'm gonna try and get to a little bit of a different one, and say just for parody's sake, I'll say anything by Mel Brooks because I fucking love his comedy.
I don't think I saw that one. Wow.
Spaceballs, The Blazing Saddles, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, gotcha.
Let's see. We'll go Saving Private Ryan 3.
Ooh, that's a fire one.
I
right
know.
there. Forrest Gump and Saving Private Ryan. Y'all got me with those. I ain't gonna front. Those are them hit you in the heart stories. You know.
I knew at some point one of y'all was gonna bring up Saving Private Ryan. It was when I said Forrest Gump. Private Ryan was definitely in my mind. For my third movie, I'm gonna go with I have it pulled up right here because I forgot his name. Spirited Away. Because like Manny mentioned, I'm a huge anime fan. Absolutely huge anime fan. I love Japanese animation, the stories that they tell.
What's the name of that one again?
Spirited Away. It's by Studio Ghibli. Studio Ghibli is kind of like the Disney of Japan. Every single movie that they make is considered a masterpiece, and they only make one.
Check that out.
They only make one each year. Spirited Away was their most famous one because it won an Academy Award for Best Animation back in 2004 or 5 when it came out, I think. But like Studio Ghibli, they make great movies. Their very first one was actually about World War II and a brother and his dying sister after the bombings in Japan, called Cave of the Fireflies. I'm probably recalling the name wrong, but it's amazing. Makes you cry. There's like they're more famous ones like like Totoro, the friendly neighbor Totoro, who's a cultural icon in Japan now and stuff. But Studio Ghibli, I would recommend any movie by them. Spirited Away, like I said, definitely their most famous one. But some honorable mentions for me. Gotta throw in, this is kind of weird. I love the Alien movies. I love the Mad Max movies. I'm a huge Jurassic Park fan. I think any kid that like dinosaurs
Jurassic Park was fire.
Park, yeah. And I gotta throw in the Fast and the Furious movies just because I love the comedy of the Fast and the Furious movies. Not a lot of people go there to watch the comedy. I love Tyrese and The Rock in like Fast and Furious 6, for example.
Yeah, those were good flicks too, man. Rest in peace, Paul Walker too, man. Those were some good flicks.
Yeah.
Thank you for the interesting and different question, Manny.
Yeah, I like that. That was a little change up.
Anything else?
Top segment on your trivia show you do.
Mm-hmm. Scotty been trying to kill us on trivia, Nate.
Oh, Joel Yatto brings up one, Godzilla. The last one, King of Monsters. I love King of Monsters.
Yeah, Godzilla was fire too. I got a bunch of movies I like. It's very hard to narrow it down. And it kind of sucks with this COVID stuff, man. Like no movies coming out.
Hey man, if you really gonna get into it, I definitely recommend checking out Studio Ghibli. Start with Spirited Away if you want to, because since that put them on the map in America.
Yeah, I just bookmarked it. I'm gonna definitely check that out because I don't get to check a lot of anime. I ain't gonna lie.
Manny, any other one, my guy?
Well, I just wanted to ask you a quick question. Have you ever seen Black Clover?
No, I haven't seen Black Clover because when Black Clover came out, I was watching Boku no Hero. I was watching Attack on Titan, Demon Slayer. I was not watching Black Clover. He's talking about an anime. And the reason I didn't watch it also was because I didn't hear too many good reviews. I heard that it was
it's actually really good.
It's really good. Maybe I'll check it out. But right now, you know what I'm saying, I'm on that Attack on Titan season 4 grind, bro. Story getting complex as complex as you can be. I'm on that grind right now, Manny.
All right. Well, have a good rest of the night and like the stream, guys.
Thank you, Manny. Have a good one, man.
Peace,
Next person up is Jaden Dawkins back. Jaden, I see that you joined back as Braun to go, and he does have his camera on. How you doing, Jaden?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Wait, I'm the last person on the stream?
Nah, I got Chuck on here next.
Dang it, I wish I was the main event.
Second to last ain't that bad, man. What's up?
What's up? I really want to talk about this Browns and Giants game. I was so frustrated. But going into that game, I already knew what was going to happen. A lot of zone coverage. Because this whole year, the zone coverage has been trash. Because you would expect Donovan Peoples-Jones, Jarvis Landry to get easy yards on us. And they did.
Yeah.
Offensively, I think Freddie Kitchens better than Jason Garrett, even though he called one game so far.
I will say Kitchens did involve more deep passes, especially in the first half.
Yeah, look.
Yeah, I definitely like what Kitchens was doing.
Look, here's the thing. He was getting the run going with Gallman and Alfred Morris. Like, we was moving the ball on 4th and 5. What would y'all ever have a punter throw the ball, though?
I probably wouldn't have, but I'm not too mad at the call because I wouldn't call it a trick play, but he was trying to look for a personnel matchup there with a guy who he knew could throw the ball because the punter is an ex-quarterback. So he's looking to, sneak one, and kind of catch him slipping there and let Nick Gates leak out. And he was hoping it was going to be wide open. I know a lot of people talked about Graham Gano being open on the play, but I don't even think that was a thought for them to throw it to Graham Gano on that. He would have got straight pummeled. You don't want to see that happen to a kicker or punter.
It was meant to be Gates. It
was just a bad ball, yeah.
Yeah, and he threw it high, and it was covered. It was surprisingly it was covered. You would think it wouldn't be covered because
you know
got
why,
an eligible
Authentic? When I
center.
looked at the replay, they were in a weird formation from like the beginning. So the Browns caught on kind of early, or as early as you could catch on in football terms. So that's where I think bad execution comes into it.
Man, yeah, you now that you say that, I'm flip-flopping an opinion a little bit. Now that you say that right there, because when you line up and you don't see no panic on the Browns, they should have called timeout.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Like,
with that.
bro, they were in that weird formation from the beginning. It's not like a regular Joe Judge trick play where he tries to switch it out quickly. Nah, they were there. Everybody was saying, wait a minute, what's happening right here? It's not a regular kick formation. You got like two dudes on that side, two dudes over there on the other sideline. Like, what's going on? And the Browns, they just caught on real quick.
Yeah, they did. That was a questionable call. I like the 4th and 2 call to actually go for it there. I like that call. And I think going out of the shotgun and trying to run the jaw is probably a good vibe and probably a good try to play, because if you try to go I formation and stack up, I think they own the trenches in that game, and we would have probably got knocked out and we wouldn't have got the first down anyway. Unfortunate that he was just that short, just a few inches short on that play. Wayne Gallman is the guy you want running that play too. You would have thought that he would have just toughed it out and got another yard, but couldn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Brian.
Go ahead, Nate. Right? Talk about his play calling and stuff. A lot of talk gets said in this league about sample sizes. And this year, you're going to hear a lot of that in the offseason. And I think with Kitchens and with Garrett, that really applies here, because this isn't just a small sample size. This is a disgusting, messed up, messy sample size. It doesn't really make sense for a whole lot of reason. There's so many uncontrolled variables, and there's so many moving parts to this year. I just don't think you can really evaluate Garrett himself, first off, in terms of how he's done this year, because there's so many things that could have gone wrong. The offense may not have been perfectly installed from the beginning. He didn't have the time in the offseason. There might have been all the injuries messing with it. He might not have the personnel figured out. There's so much stuff you can say there. But then that's just twofold for Kitchens, because he's called one game. And people are starting to say stuff about Freddie Kitchens becoming the offensive coordinator next year. And I'm just like, guys, let's calm down for a minute, all right? And then they got to think, they scored 6 points, all right? You may have called a good game, but at the end of the day, it's not that much better than what Garrett was doing. So
yeah, you're right about that. And I think both of them benefited. Colt McCoy and Freddie Kitchens benefited from just sitting on the sideline and watching what's been going wrong with the Giants all year long. I mean, this offense has struggled to put points on the board all year long, and it looked a little bit better. But just like Nate said there, we only came out of that game with 6 points, and even if you take the 2 field goals, you're looking at 12 points. So, and that's not a good day from an offense. But we saw some flashes of light with the deep pass, which I really liked.
And by the way, that reminds me, I was going to say something about this earlier, but again, it's in my mind. You brought up about the Judge surrounding himself with guys with head coaching talent, because it's not just Freddie Kitchens and Jason Garrett with the experience there. Bielema was a head coach in college. Patrick Graham apparently was being groomed for a job the whole
and
day.
I think Bielema is already signed on next year. I don't think he's going to be here next year. He got the Illinois head coaching job, so he's going to be going next year.
We can talk about it another time. The point is, I do love that from the beginning, he as a rookie head coach in a weird offseason, surrounded himself with people that had head coaching experience. So that when inevitable stuff went wrong, you say, listen, guys, how would you handle this? As a head coach, what is my job here? What am I supposed to do? Because eventually, even the best ones are going to be inexperienced at times. Bill Belichick with the Browns didn't immediately turn them around. There's rookie head coaches need to feel their way around. They got to learn things. And even now, the league moves so fast. Stuff happens so fast. And even more so in this weird COVID year, that I just think it was a really smart move for him to surround himself with head coaching experience.
Yeah, that's real.
Your last quick thought here, Ron.
Here's what I'm going to say. Without James Bradbury or Darnay Holmes, it really hurts the defense. Because you see, when they on the field, our defense is top 10. I got a question. For these last 2 weeks, where has Leonard Williams been?
I've been asking the same thing.
Yeah. That's 2 weeks. 2 weeks in a row now.
2 weeks in a row, yeah. Now, Joel was saying, I got this question for all three of y'all, right? I'm going to start with Bron, then Authentic, then Nate. Joel was saying he wouldn't even give him anything over 15. I've always been consistent. I said, not anything over 20. What's your cap now on Leo? Now that you're like, all right, for a certain amount of money, you got to show up every single week. What's your cap with Leonard Williams, Bron?
For me, I've given him like 2 years, like $16 million. I'm not overpaying him. No, nowhere close.
Authentic?
Yeah. I'm usually not the money guy, but I agree. I mean, I don't want to overpay him, but I do think you got to do whatever it takes to keep him here to be a Giant, as long as it's not completely outlandish. You got to bring him back. I mean, he is the interior force of this defense, and I think he drives this defense. And we knew this coming from the Jets, because that last year with the Jets, I don't think he had any sacks at all. And people just knew that he was a disruptor, you know, and you need a guy like that as an interior force. Snacks was like that for a bit, you know, for the Giants, where it wasn't necessarily adding up on the sack total, but it was getting, if we could get the right guys on the edge. I noticed this in the Browns game a lot. Our defensive line was getting stood up. And that's very rare that you see that from edge rushers getting stood up. You usually see edge rushers fly by left and right tackles. And in this game, they were just getting stood up all day long. 3 pressures the whole game, 1 sack. That's not going to get it done. We need some better guys out there on the edge. And I think the Giants are not only just like 1 or 2 pieces away. We're a few pieces away from being a really good team, offensive and defensive side of the ball, especially.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Bron, for tuning in, man. Have a good one, bro.
Peace, Bron.
Yeah, so personally, when I think about how much I'm going to pay Leonard Williams, right, before I say a number or anything, I want to just sort of state my thought process here. So when I look at a player and I look at how much money I'm willing to pay a guy, I always think of it sort of as what you're willing to give up later. Because money is, if you're going to construct a defense, you're going to give so much money to this position, so much money to this position, and so much money to this position. So you got to think that at some point, if you're going to pay Leonard Williams, a defensive tackle, a little bit extra, you're going to sacrifice somewhere else down the line. So then you think, what does Leonard Williams do at his defensive tackle position that's worth more money? And it's just that he's a better defensive tackle than most. So in my opinion,
I like that, Wolves.
When I look at it, I look at him and I see value. I do. I look at a guy that just does more than other guys at his position do, because he's a 3-tech D lineman. He is not an edge. Let's be real. Getting around the corner is not his job. The speed rush is not his job. Like you said, he's a disruptive force. So I think at some point we have to understand that, like you said, when you pay a guy $20 million a year, you pay him to show up every week. And that's totally fair. I think I was pretty consistent on my number with Leo for a while. And then I allowed it to get bumped up a little bit when he was going off the charts for those couple of weeks there. But I'm gonna say 17.5. That's what I'm willing to pay him, because yes, I acknowledge that he is much better than other defensive tackles, and he offers us things in that interior pass rush, because usually that's not where your pass rush is coming from. It's coming from the exterior. He does offer that extra bit, so I am willing to pay him a little bit more. But yeah, I'm not breaking the bank for a guy that doesn't have that same impact. I'm not paying him edge rusher money, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
and you look at what our needs are. Our interior defensive line is set. Just re-sign them, set it and forget it. They are 26 years old, every single one of them. They're young. They have chemistry. They're playing well. Set it and forget it. A lot of people seem to have these weird expectations that them alone is going to get you pressures and going to get you sacks. No, they are an interior defensive line. 2-3 techs and a nose. That's not their job. They are doing their job and then some by getting you the pass rush we've had. The real pressures need to be coming from the edges, which we don't have. We run basically a 3-4-ish type system, which means your outside linebackers need to be able to get around the corner. You need some speed. You need some hip flexibility to get around the corner on the tackle and get there quickly in under 2 seconds. So I don't think we have that. Listen, I know a lot of Giants fans love O'Shane Ximines. They love Lorenzo Carter. I'm not that high. I'm just not. I haven't seen anything that really indicates to me that those guys can be that speed rusher. Lorenzo Carter maybe a little bit earlier in the season, but then the injury concerns pop up again. So for me, I think if we're going to attack edge this year, and personally that's not as high on my priority list as, say, corner, but if we're going to attack edge this year, we have to keep in mind the same way we do with linebacker, because I've been telling people this forever. We don't just need any old linebacker. We need a specific archetype. We need that same thing with the edge. We need a very specific type of guy, an off-ball linebacker that's comfortable dropping back in coverage, but can really get around the corner. A guy with a mean first step, a guy with that instinct for pass rush. And I just don't think this class has a ton of those guys. Maybe a couple diamonds in the rough, like a Jalen Phillips, a Hamilcar Rashed, but both of them have big question marks. So I just don't want it this year.
Yeah, I'm with you, and you know you got to have the ability to be able to contain too, because we're going to be facing a lot of RPO, especially with Jalen Hurts jumping in the mix here. But I also think that it's got to be like glaringly obvious, you know, like when you see a guy like Aaron Donald, for instance, right? He's making 22 mil. I can't see myself paying Leo 18. I can't, you know. I think we got to take a couple steps back, and I think maybe he also has to have a little bit of humility. And hopefully he wants to be a Giant, and he'll take the right money. Now, the more I'm thinking about it, 15 seems to be probably the cap for me.
Right. Yeah, at the beginning of the year, I was saying I wouldn't give him anything above 16. Now my cap has risen to 20, like I mentioned before. But with these 2 games, it's coming back down. Like, I never went past 20 because, you know why? Because of Aaron Donald. I was like, he's not Aaron Donald. He's not Chris Jones. He's not on that level. I don't care how many sacks he gets this year. He was never on that level. I can't see him potentially even getting to that level, so I'm not going above that. And now I'm slowly coming back down to my $50 million cap, where I'm like, you know what? You know what contracts with Leonard Williams? The franchise tag that he's on right now. He's on a $60 million franchise tag. Just expedite that over a couple of years, and that's what he should be earning.
So here's my thoughts here on that. Like you said, he should not be getting Aaron Donald money. That's just ridiculous. But I think about him, and then I think, all right, what if he isn't selfless? What if he doesn't have that humility? What if he doesn't really want to be a Giant? Then we lose him, and you got to think again, what are you willing to get back, and where are you going to replace that production from?
Listen, I don't have an answer for you right now.
So I do. Yeah, I do. So,
but it would free up a little bit of money at least, you know?
Right. So here's my thoughts. With Leonard Williams, again, you're looking at basically just a 3-tech guy, interior defensive lineman, and I think to myself, all right, guys that do what he can do at his position don't grow on trees. So when you replace him with a guy that maybe can't hit that same ceiling of production, but can still be solid, can still keep pushing on the pocket, not get blown off his block on run gap.
You know who could be solid? I'm not sure how solid, but who could be solid is BJ Hill.
We'll talk about him in a minute.
Yeah.
But
he's had a lot of time as well, too, it seems.
If we lose him, you're looking at replacing him with a guy that can't quite do that same stuff. So you need to replace that pass rush. And then you got to think that your edge has to be that much better. Whatever you're missing in the pass rush from Leonard Williams, you have to get back with maybe instead of just a really good edge rusher, a superstar edge rusher, a Michael Strahan, if you would.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't think there's nobody like that in free agency. Could have been Bud Dupree had he not had the ACL tear. I cannot see anybody like that in the draft. The edge rushing class or just pass rushing class, in my opinion, is kind of weak this year. Which is sad because we had like 2-3 years in a row of really good edge rushing classes, and the Giants never got any of those guys. And now we really need it, and they're just not there. But I'm really gonna have to close up shop here right now, guys. Thank you all for coming in. Shots to Authentic for coming in. He came straight off Authentic in the Beard. They were doing their regular Tuesday night show, guys. Go over there, check them out. Shout out to Nate Talks Giants. He just hit 200 subs. Congrats to Nate. Always a pleasure.
Salute, Nate. That's what's up.
Yep, always a pleasure having on. And if we're talking achievements, Authentic and the Beard just hit monetization.
Yeah,
congratulations to them
thank
as
you,
well.
Thank you.
I said earlier in the stream, I don't know if they coined it yet, but they should put a tagline, their fastest growing sports podcast on YouTube, or just something like that, man, because they're growing pretty quickly, man.
I'm with you. I'm taking notes. You already know.
So, chat, real talk here. I'm not like a content creator. I got no stake in this, so just know this is for real. If you have not watched Authentic in the Beard, seriously go do that. Making great stuff, consistent upload dates, consistent stream times. Just seriously go check them out. They do awesome stuff. They got the production value up there. It's nice. You gotta go check
appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you for having me on too, Hub, man. Thank you again. I appreciate you sharing that network one more time.
No problem, man. It's basically infinity time, man. Invitation's always open anytime you guys want to come on.
Hey, and right back at y'all. We got to get Nate on Authentic in the Beard too. I haven't had you on yet, bro.
I got to get back on just because I killed trivia time last time. I want to see if I could kill it.
Hey, so check this out. So we're doing a trivia show, actually. It's going to be kind of like a Jeopardy style vibe. And we're trying to do teams of about 4 or 5 content creators. So it'll be like the Beard has his team and I'm going to have my team. So we're doing that January 2nd. We're going to do that on a Saturday night. So I'm going to keep both y'all in the loop. We need some people to hop on with us. If y'all down for that, I'll reach out to y'all on Twitter.
Right now. Pencil me in right now.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
You saw me show my chops on one trivia when I was there. Come on now.
Flexing, yes. And it won't be too much hip-hop trivia. It's going to be all NFL stuff.
That's all through.
Yes, sir.
But once again, thank you all, and we're gonna be out, guys. Peace.
All right, y'all.